West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't understand what's agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Is it Liberation Day? Is it the end of global trade? Is it a violation of the Constitution? Is it the biggest tax hike in American history? Boy, oh boy, we've got a lot to talk about because yesterday Donald Trump signing the executive orders with regards to tariffs. Here he is.
Nice crowd. What a good-looking group of people. Well, we have some very, very good news today, and a lot of good things are happening for our country. Please sit down. My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy.
Rand Paul responding right away.
And yet today we are here before the Senate because one person in our country wishes to raise taxes. Well, this is contrary to everything our country was founded upon. One person is not allowed to raise taxes. The Constitution forbids it. The Constitution was so concerned with the power of taxes, which some have said the power of taxes is the power to destroy. But our founding fathers were so concerned with this that they said, no, the president will not have the power to legislate. The president will not have the power to tax. Only Congress will be able to tax the people, and only by originating tax bills in the House.
All right, want to hear from you. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Is this step one towards greater prosperity for America, or a step towards a recession? Want to hear from you. Phone lines are open. This is going to be an interesting morning and want you to be part of the conversation. But now it's time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. Thursday, 30 and mostly cloudy in Denver. Expecting a high of 41 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, April showers bring May flowers, and however, probably, maybe snow showers this weekend beginning tonight, so opening day tomorrow. All eyes will be on the forecast. And Denver Mayor Mike Johnston says it's time for people to start coming downtown again.
If we allow folks to commit crimes on our streets and sidewalks without consequence, that also does not solve crime. And today we're here to share that those days are over in Denver.
All right, crime is a problem. Oh, listen to that. What's going on?
Dude's been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
There you go.
Finally getting serious about making
an impact.
Yeah, right? Because remember we had the woman in a pearls and fur coat and diamond rings theory, which is that if you want to bring Denver back, you got to make it so safe that a woman can freely walk between the Buell Theater and the Brown Palace and grab a nice bite to eat,
or the Buell. Or Buell.
Boulet.
Yeah, that's right. I agree. That theory you are correct.
Dude, we coined it here, and he's got his little mounted police that he's going to have downtown now.
Yes. Yeah, he said, let's see, an investment of $570 million through the Downtown Development Authority should help make downtown safer. An additional 10 officers will be working exclusively downtown. It'll, they'll be on foot, bike, and motorcycle patrol.
That'll be dedicated just to downtown. That'll include foot patrol, it'll include bike patrol, it'll include motorcycle patrol. In addition, we'll add 3 more shifts of our park rangers, who will be 3 additional shifts a day coming up and through the downtown area as a way to activate and keep that supported.
Well, I'm all for that. All
Dude,
right,
I'm all for this. This is
get
great.
The drugs off the streets,
Yep.
you know.
Well, and because there's actually a law of physics at plays here, okay, or at play here. And the law of physics is that you cannot, that criminals and families will not operate in the same place. Okay, so if you have enough police and you're tough enough on crime that families feel safe to go downtown and enjoy an afternoon at the 16th Street Mall, well, in order to do that, you can't have any criminals there. But if you're weak on crime and you allow criminals to operate down there, well, then families are just not going to visit. And so it's a law of physics, and it's great to hear Mayor Mike Johnson. That's great audio, Blake, because I hadn't heard that. Is he's prioritizing the safety of the people down there? And look, half of the revenue into the city comes from sales tax. So if people aren't visiting the city, if they're not going to plays and restaurants, then you can't even, Mike Johnston, have your little liberal projects like Housing First. So it kind of benefits everybody to be tough on crime.
I'm all for it. Do what's right. It's common sense. Let's go. Let's get it done. Get the gangbangers out and the TDA, and here you go. You can have a city again. But I see homeless people and crap all over the exits in suburbs. You see it in Lakewood. I saw it yesterday in Thornton. I mean, it's just, so something's got to happen, and trying to clean it up, good thing. Hey, give them credit. Rand Paul doesn't like it, but it was Liberation Day on Wednesday.
Our country and its taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years, but it is not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen.
And what a glorious day it was. Huge American flags between the columns outside. DJT spoke for an hour on tariffs, and it was a celebration of the American worker and basically what made America great in the 20th century, bringing it back.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day, waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy.
Good and wealthy. I love that. Brian Panbecker is a retired auto worker.
I have watched my entire life, I have watched plant after plant after plant in Detroit and in the Metro Detroit area close. There are now plants sitting idle. There are now plants that are underutilized, and Donald Trump's policies are going to bring product back into those underutilized plants. There's going to be new investment. There's going to be new plants built. And the UAW members, and I brought 20 of them with me, they're sitting right over here. We support Donald Trump's policies on tariffs 100%. So, Mr. President, we can't thank you enough. And in 6 months or a year, we're going to begin to see the benefits. I can't wait to see what's happening 3 or 4 years down the road. Thank you, Mr. President.
And I'm envisioning my favorite movie of all time, one of them, Tommy Boy. See, I could see Tommy Boy right now. Right,
That's great. Love that visual.
Yep, thank you.
Fat
and how about
in a little coat?
Yes. Oh man, thing is so good. Hey, did you see Jasmine Crockett on Wednesday? She never disappoints. On Wednesday, she admitted why she was hired.
When I first became a public defender, I had no criminal defense experience. And I walked in and I told my boss, Charlie, I said, listen, you should hire me. He said, why? I said, because I'm black. Charlie looked at me like I was crazy.
Wow, not because you were smart or intelligent. Amazing. There you go. That's right. 171 homeowners in Colorado have been released from contracts and are now able to sell their homes legally after a settlement was reached with a company named Home Options. The company would promise a cash payment to allow the real estate company exclusive rights to sell the house in the future. Colorado AG Phil Weiser said it's predatory for a company to offer a paltry amount of money to homeowners in exchange for binding themselves and their heirs to a real estate transaction that might be many decades away. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. The Spurs over the Nuggets last night, 113-106, a day after Jokic scores 61. The Avs over the Blackhawks, 3-2, the final. 28 in Highlands Ranch, 29 in North Glen, 30 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
Holy Toledo.
Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Cool, unsettled, and occasionally damp here along the Front Range through Saturday as an area of low pressure will hang overhead between now and the start of the weekend. Mostly cloudy, highs upper 40s, a few showers today, a few snow showers, 20s and low 30s tonight. Areas of wet snow Thursday into Thursday night, rain and snow showers Friday night into Saturday, and cool with highs only 30s and low 40s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, Bill, right after this, I'm meeting some pro-life leaders that are in town. We're grabbing lunch. Guess where we're going?
Oh, could it be one of our favorite places in the entire state? A place that does home cooking right? A place that makes their biscuits fresh daily on the regular? Place that probably has one of the best Reuben sandwiches in the country?
The Black Eyed Peas.
Oh, I love them.
Right. I want to talk to you about my friends at the Black Eyed Peas. It's where I go for business meetings right after work here. Locally owned and operated by Steve and Michelle. I love this restaurant. It's home-style cooking worth going out for. With 8 locations, there's sure to be one near you. When's the last time you took the family to eat at the Black Eyed Pea? Everything is made from scratch. Roasted turkey breast dinner, mom's meatloaf, grilled salmon. How about homemade soups, great salads, delicious mashed potatoes. They've got daily specials. They've got senior discounts. And every once in a while, since I tend not to have a big appetite, let me order from the senior menu. Get those little or smaller portions and better save room for dessert at the Black Eyed Pea. They have the mile-high 1-pound chocolate cake, and it's absolutely incredible. Make your dinner party, rehearsal dinner, wedding reception, or company event a success with Black Eyed Pea Catering. And no matter what the occasion, Black Eyed Pea gift cards are always great. Whether you purchase them for your spouse, birthday favors, or holiday presents, they have you covered. I love everything about this restaurant, and I know you will as well. Be sure to keep it in Colorado, make it Maha, and visit the Black Eyed Pea near you. All right, our poor kids, Bill.
Oh, no, what? What happened? What?
Oh, they were born to Nicole and I. That's what happened.
Oh, no, what?
And so
poor genetics
they
thing?
watched their parents watch an hour-long press conference that President Trump led on tariffs, and then a 30-minute response by Rand Paul on the floor of the Senate.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
My kids are just were rather intrigued with all of it.
My kids are just exposed to way too much soccer, especially international. That's the curse in my house. There's way too much soccer going on. But yeah,
well,
tell me about
speaking
it.
of that, we're going to get to Stephanie Piko later on the national women's soccer team. Some of the
be
training
awesome.
operations are going to be taking place here in Centennial, which is cool. I didn't know about this. So
yeah, that'll be really cool.
This will be fun. She's joining us in the 9 o'clock hour. Erin Lee in the 8 o'clock hour. But I want to talk Trump tariffs. Because what you could have seen yesterday and now implementing today was the end of global trade. That's what the Wall Street Journal says. This is, from my perspective, a big change in how America runs its economy. Is it for the better? And I find myself, Bill, in this very interesting position where I remember how committed to free trade Republicans were. And the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and all that stuff. And things are changing. And so I'm looking at what we've inherited and the ideas, and they were well espoused by Rand Paul on the floor of the Senate yesterday. And if you missed that, he's got a 30-minute speech. Go listen to that. His primary concern is about separation of powers, and he believes that tariffs are a tax. Therefore, who's levying the tax? It shouldn't be the executive. That's a king. It needs to come from the people. The Constitution specifically says that it's the House that the power to tax originates from. So you have that aspect. But I'm also looking at the economic problems that our country is facing. And this is where I'm intrigued about the power of tariffs. So the American citizenry, more depressed, more obese, more addicted to drugs, unable to advance monetarily, more dependent on the government than at any point in American history. We've lost 5 million manufacturing jobs. And their critique coming from the MAGA movement now. And to our credit, Bill, we actually figured this out. We figured out where the thinking was originating from, and it is Oren Cass. And in fact, the Daily Show had Oren Cass on the other day. We had invited Oren Cass on like months ago. But we figured out the impetus and the kind of the foundation of where this thinking was coming from with tariffs in the Republican Party. And it's essentially that global trade has almost worked too well in some cases. And we've become dependent on consumerism. And so if you look at the critique of tariffs, it's, well, now my TVs are going to get more expensive. My avocados are going to get more expensive. My cell phone's going to get more expensive. And so our economy is geared towards consumption, while at the same time we've lost manufacturing jobs. We become more dependent upon the government. Things are getting expensive, more expensive, regardless of tariffs. And we're dealing with unfair trade practices that are coming from other countries. That was one of the main issues that Donald Trump brought up. So is this the revenge of Ross Perot? Did NAFTA fail America and Donald Trump's going to resurrect it? Or are we now heading towards a catastrophe, as Rand Paul would say? As Jared Polis also said, this is the biggest tax increase on the American people ever, and we're now going to hit a recession. Bill, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a nightmare. But that Trump proudly went out of the Rose Garden and in public announced, "I don't know what I'm talking about. I have no idea, nor do I have a frame of reference of what I'm talking about in here. Let me just lie to you for a while." Yeah. That was a fountain of misinformation and lies. But, at least he delivered it well, and everybody cheered at the appropriate applause lines. But the idea of these tariffs bringing manufacturing back is a fallacy. The idea, and it's, here's the thing. One thing is that we know that Trump privately has, or at least the reporting is, that Trump has reached out to the auto manufacturers and said that you better not raise prices based on the tariffs. And it's been the reporting so far, and so far I trust it. I see nothing that disagrees with that, which is weird when he over and over again says it's the other countries that pay for it. Why would he be concerned about auto manufacturers raising their prices if those import costs are borne by the importer? It wouldn't. He wouldn't be concerned about it. He wouldn't care. But he's reaching out, asking behind the scenes for them not to raise prices, which again is very strange for a Republican president. Remember how everybody lost their freaking minds with Kamala and her price control idea? This is exactly what Donald Trump is leaning towards. The idea of leaning on manufacturers and price controls. The reporting is that he threatened them. That said there will be fallout. There will be punishment if you raise prices based on these tariffs. One, he's disagreeing with what he says publicly. Two, he's also threatening price controls. That's interesting. Super interesting from a Republican. Again, I did not think that it was going to be a Republican president that would tear down the legacy of Reagan. But he's doing it. And it's being celebrated in the Rose Garden with cheers, applause, and platitudes. This is a nightmare.
Question I have for you. Do you think trade is fair with these other countries? At one point, Donald Trump brings out this big sign, and he lists all these different tariffs that these other countries are putting on the United States. A few I'll pull up here. He gets to about 60 different countries. So China is exacting a tariff on the United States at 67%, European Union
on what,
39%.
Yeah, see, this is a problem. On what?
All right, let me see. Including currency manipulation and trade barriers.
Yeah, but the issue is he just gives us this raw number. It's like his BS numbers about the Canada trades when he talked about the milk. That was complete and total BS when he's talking about that, because dairy products, there are millions and millions of units that are allowed into Canada, from my understanding. And then when there is a certain limit of import, these huge tariffs kick in, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to prevent market dumping. They understand there's a competitive advantage to having American dairy in their market because it creates competition, but having American dairy pour into the market so that it becomes an economic disadvantage for their farmers, they're not in favor of, and so they have a threshold, but
so
they
it's
import
not free
it.
trade.
No, but the idea is, here's the idea though, but we don't really have pure free trade anywhere. However, it's closer than it has been in a long time. And tariffs do have a role, and we impact tariffs, and we put tariffs on a whole bunch of other imports as well.
Yeah.
Yes, that's fine. But this is something on a whole nother level that is, it's so wide, so deep, so broad. This is likely to create economic slowdown. JP Morgan, just in the last 24 hours, announced how this is pushing us and teetering towards the edge of a recession. If Trump follows through on this level of tariffs and keeps them implemented for long term, and long term just being several months, they're talking about getting us into recession, and that's 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. So that'd be about 6 months.
So you look at this list, and it's everything from China to India, Thailand, Switzerland, Indonesia, Ecuador. I mean, do you not believe the president? Do you not think that there are tariffs being charged to the United States in these countries?
I never said that, and I acknowledged that a minute ago, that the tariffs are being charged.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, those tariffs are being paid by the importer. So the U.S. isn't cutting a check. It does create a disadvantage in some areas for our goods that are going across, but we also have tariffs on a whole bunch of goods that are already coming into America. Before he made this giant Liberation Day announcement yesterday, there were tariffs, a huge list of tariffs. If you go through our tariff import list, it is the size of several phone books. It is enormous.
So you're not against tariffs?
No. I've always, and even before the election, I've said siloed strategies can be very effective, and they do have their place. But this universal idea of tariffs that Trump operates off of is bupkis. It is economically and financially stupid. And he didn't come out yesterday and show us a long list of the tariffs that we charge. He didn't, did he? No. And he also didn't break down the tariffs or why. And when he does break down the tariffs, and my example I go back to is how he talks about chicken, and he talks about agricultural imports and dairy imports in Canada, he misrepresents them. As a whole, he misrepresents how they are imported. Not only that, but he had the history wrong yesterday in the Rose Garden. He came out there, and I just... it hurt my head. Anybody, and this isn't something that you have to be big into economics. You just had to have watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and you could have known this. But he went 180 degrees away from what actual history says, which is great because Ben Stein, you remember Ben Stein got famous because of the one scene in Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
About the Laffer curve.
Yeah, he talks about what happened. Smoot-Hawley tariffs. Why did we get pushed into the Depression? What pushed us harder into the Depression? Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. That's the line there is Bueller. Bueller, anyone?
So
That's why.
You're saying tariffs put us into the depression, but that tariffs are okay in some silos? Help me understand this.
Yeah. The example would be exactly Canada. Canada it's a decent approach as based on, again, we go back to our dairy. They allow a certain level of agricultural imports with the dairy from the U.S. When it gets to a point in which it starts to teeter on market saturation, and they've determined this based on their own manufacturing, they then put a huge import tariff on that, meaning that it costs Canadians a ton of money to import our dairy beyond a certain level. That makes sense because the early imports create competition. And then when we get to market saturation, it becomes a deficit for the Canadian farmer, the tariffs kick in. That's a reasonable siloed tariff. But he's not doing that here, is he? No.
I disagree with that. I mean, it's 10% across, but I feel like I'm hearing multiple things being said at the same time. One from what you would typically go from the Reagan Republicans, that global trade, free trade is fantastic for America, and we need to embrace that with the most limited amount of tariffs possible. But then at the same time, well, tariffs do work, and we understand why some countries do it, because at a certain point, you're just dumping a lot of product in here. And a lot of the critiques are that countries like China have been unfairly adjusting their steel prices by the government essentially backing the steel companies there. So we're not engaging in free trade on the international level. And my question has always been, okay, well, if China is subsidizing their steel industry and steel companies in America can't compete with those prices, well, what do you do then? What do you do with China and their steel practices?
Well, the last time when Trump was in office, he put tariffs on Chinese steel. And it ended up costing manufacturers billions of dollars.
He would say the exact opposite, actually.
I know, but he says a lot of stuff that's not true. So he can say a lot of things, doesn't make it true. The facts show that Trump's steel tariffs
so what do you do? Let's go back to the original question.
Yeah.
The Chinese government is subsidizing its steel industry, pushing its steel out at cheaper levels to where the United States steel manufacturers can't compete. What do you do?
Yeah. You do exactly what Canada's doing. You bring in a certain amount and then you tariff it beyond that. Because there is going to be some that we need. The other thing that you do is this. But hang on.
We're back to tariffs.
Wait, hang on a sec.
So you just don't like the level of tariffs?
Yeah. I've been incredibly consistent on that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So some tariffs are okay, just not these tariffs.
Not these broad general tariffs. There are some ways to do it. The other thing to do would be this. The other thing you could possibly do is increase your trade relationships with, let me see here. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Oh, yeah, Canada. Canada is one of our largest providers of aluminum and steel. Yet we're tariffing them.
How does that help the U.S. steel industry?
Let me finish the statement. I was just right there. So we are getting the aluminum and steel that comes in from Canada. Again, you started with the idea of China. That's what, because now you've switched the goalpost.
Well, no. The goal was, how do you help the U.S. steel industry? That's always been the goal.
No, you started with, what do you do with China based on the steel dumping?
Okay.
I'm getting to that because now you've switched to the American steel manufacturers.
That's always been
different.
About that.
That's different than your question about China. That's different.
No, that was always
part.
Yes, no, I don't just care about China by itself. It has to do with, we want to improve manufacturing here in the United States. We've killed manufacturing here in the United States. Okay? With these global
steel
trade
manufacturing
policies.
is not coming back to the United States on the same level. It's just simply not.
I mean,
it's economically not going to happen.
That type of thinking needs to be challenged.
Challenge it. Okay, let's go. Let's finish the first part of this before we're going to that part of it. Okay? First of all, what you do as far as China, one, you can allow some of it in, but then you put import tariffs on it at a certain level beyond that. But then you get larger relationships with someone like Canada, because when they import, then what you do is you use their steel and aluminum rather than the Chinese steel and aluminum. That's the issue. This is not about bilateral
trade. I don't want to use Canada's steel.
This is not about bilateral
American
trade.
Steel.
This is not about bilateral trade. This is about global trade.
Yes.
Well, here's the thing, though, that you may want to use American steel, but it will mean a significant increase in the price of your car, a significant increase in everything else that uses metal as far as manufacturing. So is that what you're looking for? Because here's why I question this. So are you okay with paying the higher prices? And it could be significantly higher.
And I think
so. You're okay with that.
I think Trump acknowledges that.
So you're okay with that? Okay.
I think so.
Then
I think
help
the American people are.
Okay. Then
because we've always done the made in America stuff. Yes.
Are they really okay with that?
I think that's why they elected him. This isn't like a surprise.
Hold on here. Hold on. We got to stop right there. You think that the American people voted for Donald Trump so that he makes your stuff more expensive?
So that he makes it American-made?
No, more expensive.
You're saying it's American. I think they're willing to tolerate it, but I think they want the stuff here made in America. They're not just voting for him because they randomly want stuff more expensive.
No. Remember?
They
no. Hang on.
It made in America, Bill.
No, hang on a sec. That was not the narrative before Trump. This is actually...
That was 100% the narrative.
No, the narrative was, have you seen grocery store prices? Have you seen how much I am paying? I can't pay enough. My budget is stretched. Stuff is too expensive. And Donald Trump promised on day one to make things less expensive. And you've just said...
And he's done that with eggs.
They voted for him.
He did that with
eggs.
And
you just said they voted for him to make things more expensive.
No, they voted for him to make it in America.
He never said that.
He
said that he was going to drop prices. No, it was drop prices.
And make it in America.
Drop prices
and he's doing
on
both.
day one.
He's actually doing both.
No, he's not.
Point.
No, he's not.
He's going to bring it back, make it in America. Egg prices are down 50%.
Art Laffer disagrees with you on tariffs and manufacturing coming back to the U.S. and making it less expensive. Art Laffer disagrees with you on this.
Did I say make it back in America and make it less expensive?
But here's the idea. But Donald Trump said he was going to make it less expensive. That was his promise.
He said he's going to make it in America, and he's tending. And he's lowering the prices of some of this
he
stuff.
said that he was going to lower prices on day one.
And he's done that
this
on
doesn't
eggs.
do it. This doesn't. No, he didn't.
I think gas is doing right. We're down 50% on eggs.
He didn't do that day one. And what is the mechanism and what did he do? Financially, what did he do? What was the process? What was the proposal? What is the mechanism that Donald Trump did in order to lower price of eggs?
The flocks of birds are coming back. That's why.
But what did he do? Did he impregnate the birds? What did he do? Again, show me the policy. Show me the Trump policy that was enacted to lower the egg prices rather than the usual supply and demand. When you have more birds, you're able to produce more eggs and the price goes down, which I wasn't blaming him for high egg prices in the first place. But if you're going to give him the credit...
him for high prices.
No, I didn't say eggs. I'm saying high prices. Tariffs create high prices, and he promised you lower prices. And now you are coming on our show saying the Americans are going to pay higher prices than Trump promised them to it. That is crazy talk.
Trump always promised that this was going to be made in America. And I think the American people understand that if things are going to get a little bit more expensive, some of them, they're willing to do it. We've always been willing to pay a little bit more for it to be made in America. But you have to address some of the challenges that we're facing here. And what you get from the other side, the Democrats, the free trade side, is, well, it's just got to continue this way. What needs to continue this way? The Chinese are going to sabotage steel prices by putting their own government funds into the steel industry? Are we going to continue to watch our society not be able to have economic mobility because there's literally no manufacturing left in America? Is that where we're all going to end up? We just got to continue down this path. I think things are problematic. Donald Trump's working to address them. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law Text line, 720-819-5115. Is it the end of global trade? A violation of the Constitution, the biggest tax hike in American history? Or is it Liberation Day? We'll get to your phone calls. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. And did Trump supporters vote for higher prices? I want to know.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Is it the end of global trade? A violation of the Constitution? The biggest tax hike in American history? Or as Donald Trump said, Liberation Day? Let's go to the phone lines. Grant Conifer. Good morning, Grant. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning, guys. How we doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for the call.
Not bad. You jumping in on this scenario. I think, this is what is going on in the room with you two guys and everywhere else is exactly what is being missed in the bigger conversation, in that the elephant in the room is not actually in the room. It's out in the living room reading the newspaper, having a glass of wine.
Interesting. What's that elephant?
That's the Federal Reserve Bank and fractional reserve banking. And when this issue in this country has been coming since World War I, since they made the Federal Reserve Act and fractional reserve banking our source of money. It was hidden under the guise of the Smoot-Hawley tariffs for the Great Depression, when the government made it illegal for its people to own physical gold. The run on the banks, all this stuff was designed around installing a money system that was going to lose value on purpose over time. And we are sitting now at a place to where the tariff scenario is being compared to that Great Depression scenario, when the scenario is that we are using a source of money that has lost 90% of its value since its installation. The tariffs that Trump, I think, is trying to do, and where you've got the idea of him, having the authoritarian cap on the importers for transferring that tax, I think that's the only way that you can ensure that a tariff system works, is so that the the import system does not pass that on to the American consumer until America can rebuild its industry base.
But how do you enforce that? How do you, because import taxes are always paid by the importer. Tariffs are always paid by the importer.
Right. And I mean, there's so many devils in this details. I don't have a clue what his plan is on this thing. But that's the fundamental principles is that you can't have one and not use that leverage to ensure that this doesn't go exponentially wrong in the other direction. So, that's the problem with Trump. He's the worst communicator in the world. Got no idea
Grant,
how this is going
to... part of what Trump's bringing up here is that we don't have the capacity right now to manufacture the things that our country needs. And that's a national security issue. We rely upon all these other countries. We need to get this part from Vietnam. We need to get this part from Brazil. We need to get this part from China. And when it comes to global supply, global trade, and national defense, we're just too reliant on these other countries. Should America be reliant upon these other countries? Is it good for them to be reliant upon these other countries? Or should we be building this stuff at home?
No, we have all the capacity in the world to have anything we need in our system, and I think if we don't make a severe right turn at some level, I think this is what we're facing.
So would you consider what he did yesterday, the severe right turn?
Everything that's coming is that right turn, and that's it's going to be interesting to see. I think.
But what's coming, Brent? In your opinion, what is coming? Are you assuming that manufacturing is coming back to the U.S.? Is that your assumption based on these tariffs?
I mean, that is the direction of the tariffs. So I think that is.
But will that be accomplished?
I don't know, and this takes the American ingenuity and will, honestly, to make this thing happen. We've become such a sloppy society that we want it spoon fed to us. And that is why we are in this position. I don't honestly know if the certain generations of what's coming up actually wants to make a real grind and turn something around for their existence and their children's existence.
The problem I've got with that is the idea that we were sold lower prices by Trump. That was the majority of his message. Immigration, lower prices. Immigration, lower prices. And this will increase prices. Thank you so much for the call. And the fact that you don't know if this is going to be manufacturing, if it's going to bring manufacturing back, tells me that maybe we don't take the risk. Maybe we don't, because if we go through all of this, the prices raise and manufacturing doesn't come back, then we've given ourselves a national sales tax and we don't get what Trump's promised. So the fact that you don't know worries me.
Well, just because they can't tell the future, doesn't mean that I don't think we should fully embrace this. Yeah. But let's go to Jim in Denver. Good morning, Jim. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, good morning, guys. Our manufacturing base was kicked out of this country after we defaulted in the 70s and 80s. And the 1986 Plaza Accord financial currency revaluation with our partners guaranteed this. And it shut down the rest of the manufacturing from base materials onto finished materials. And we are completely reliant on the rest of the world. And it's not coming back unless this nation decides that they want to stop subsidizing the financial industry and start resubsidizing the productive industry. But there's no way anybody is going to build a plant in this nation unless the government underwrites it, because the financial industry has moved all their future dollars to the cheapest wage, lowest system in the world, where they can dump their trash and their refuse in the nearest river and ocean.
Wow. All right, Jim, appreciate the perspective. Guys, phone lines are open. We're going to continue this into the next hour, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. I won't disagree with you. Yesterday was a major change in our economy. Is it for the better Is it for the worse? What do you think? Join the conversation. We got You Choose the News. Coming up, you're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The text message line and phone lines are hot this morning as we're debating Trump's tariff plan. We'll get to that in the 7 o'clock hour as well. But now a little divergent moment into some levity with You Choose the News.
Yes, we need a little bit of lightheartedness this morning, something we call America's favorite fake radio news game show. This is You Choose the News. You know how this works. I've scoured the interwebs for moments this morning to find really, really dumb stories about us humans, giving them even more ridiculous headlines so that we can play this fake radio news game show. Why, oh why would we do something this irresponsible with valuable airtime? Because nobody in charge has any idea we do this. They don't wake up until 7 o'clock, so once Jeff and I figured that out, yeah, we absolutely took advantage of being unsupervised. This is what happens, a lesson to everybody in charge, but again, also, shh. This is our secret.
We're going to charge you a tariff to listen to.
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty, we're bringing more listeners back to the show because of the... Okay. Alrighty, gentlemen, Blake Olson from the news department, Jeff Hunt from the studio. Here are your choices this morning, gentlemen. Headline number 1, I drink to make you attractive. Headline number 2, he needed a break. Headline number 3, caring about sharing. And headline number 4, plagiarism endorsement. Mr. Hunt.
Let's do the plagiarism endorsement.
Yes, plagiarism endorsement. Amid ongoing debates surrounding artificial intelligence, an Austrian university has admitted their very first artificial intelligence student. That's not just the stoners in the back of the quad that are sitting there all day going, dude, I forgot to go to class. No, it's not that. It's a non-binary AI that is dubbed Flynn. Hasn't been given a gender. So don't get mad at it yet. Hasn't been enrolled. It's been enrolled in a digital art program at the University of Applied Arts in Vienna. It can attend classes, receive critiques, get grades alongside its human peers. Flynn did go through the standard application process that included a portfolio submission. Those looking through the portfolio were super impressed and like his art sensibilities. And they're excited to have Flynn in class. Other than the fact that it's an AI large learning model means it had to plagiarize everything. So again, kids, remember, when your university professor says you can't plagiarize, just tell them it's all artificial intelligence.
And which professor's like, you know what I want to do? Grade the papers of an AI computer. What?
Yeah, I know. Here's the thing.
And are they going to use AI to grade the AI? And
that's already happening. That's the thing. Is that so many students, and this is something I was reading about in some educational stuff, that there are so many students that are using AI-generated prompts and everything to write their assignments, that teachers are using AI in order to grade them. That soon it's just going to be AI assigning assignments to AI that's going to turn it in to have AI grade them. Yes, that's going to make us super smart.
And you wonder why we need manufacturing.
Alrighty, Blake Olson, sir, your choice. I drink to make you attractive. He needed a break, or caring about sharing.
I drink to make you attractive.
You're my favorite. Alrighty. This is from the science hippies. Yes, the weirdos in the white lab coats are wanting to know why male fruit flies drink so much alcohol. Well, they think they've discovered it because makes them more sexy to the ladies. Yes. Adding alcohol to male food seems to increase their release of a chemical that attracts females, meaning it leads to higher mating success. In fact, those guys that have never gotten busy before, yes, they've never cashed in their V card, they emit more chemicals than other fruit flies. So there is a biological advantage for the guys that have never gotten some. Boy, could we all have used that in college. Yeah. Now, the researchers,
he's so fly.
Yes, he is. The researchers in charge say that it suggests that what it does, it gives them a reproductive advantage. The study found that alcohol increased the male's production and release of chemical sex signals called pheromones, made them more attractive to the females. And again, those fruit fly virgins were the ones that benefited the most from this heavy drinking. So
yeah, baby.
I know, exactly. Alrighty, final choice this morning. Jeff, he needed a break or caring about sharing?
Caring about sharing.
Yeah, caring about sharing. Here we find ourselves in Minot, North Dakota. The mayor of Minot, North Dakota, has resigned after an investigation into the sharing of a caring video recently.
No!
Yes, he sent a lewd video to the city attorney by mistake. Now, the video was him having some special alone time. So a one-on-one dance. He was no longer the master of his domain. And it was supposed to be intended for a girlfriend. He accidentally sent it to the city attorney and said, please erase it and don't watch it, which is the first indication you've done something wrong. He has since resigned because he shared about his caring. Yeah.
You know what they say, why not, why not?
Well, CNN will give him a job.
Yes. That's it. That's the end of You Choose the News. Back to you,
All right,
sir.
we'll continue to debate tariffs. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is 710 KNUS.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. As you can imagine, this morning is very spicy. Lots of debate in studio, lots of debate on the phone lines, a heck of a lot of debate on the text lines. We want you to be a part of the conversation. Trump yesterday signing sweeping tariffs. The Wall Street Journal calling it the end of global trade. Rand Paul calling it a violation of the Constitution. Jared Polis saying it's the biggest tax hike in American history. And Donald Trump calling it Liberation Day. What do you think? Be a part of the conversation. Phone lines are open. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. Is this an American renaissance with regards to manufacturing and business investment, or the steps towards a recession? Possibly both. Would love to hear from you. We'll get your phone calls and texts, plus some audio of yesterday's press conference. But now is time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. It is Thursday, 31 and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 42 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
Our country and its taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years. But it is not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen.
A day after Liberation Day, and plenty of naysayers out there, but many believe we don't have any choice in the U.S. We have to do this. And a lot believe this is the first step for DJT to continue negotiating what he does best with all countries in the world.
If you look at Switzerland, 61% to 31%. Indonesia, Malaysia, Cambodia. Oh, look at Cambodia, 97%. We're going to bring it down to 49. They made a fortune with the United States of America. United Kingdom, 10%, and we'll go 10%. So we'll do the same thing. South Africa, 60%, 30%, and they've got some bad things going on in South Africa. You know, we're paying them billions of dollars, and we cut the funding because a lot of bad things are happening in South Africa. The fake news ought to be looking at it. They don't want to report it. So what we're doing is we're taking not the full, we could take the full 88%. Thanks a lot. He's doing a very good job. How's he doing, all right? I think you better take it with you. It's not going to last very long.
Talk about Howard Lutnick with the chart that he had on Wednesday. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on with Caitlin Collins on CNN.
Yeah, and obviously with the cars, all foreign-made cars, imports are getting a 25% tariff starting at midnight. If half the cars coming into the United States are foreign-made, that's hard to turn around overnight, as you know. So what would you say to people in the auto industry who are worried about that timeline and how quickly that can shift?
Buy American.
And what about American-made cars and produced cars that are being made using foreign-made parts?
Well, I believe the USMCA is exempt.
Yeah, those that are compliant with this. Obviously, yes. Canada and Mexico are not on here.
He caught her a little bit there. Time will tell. It's a long-term plan for our country's future. This guy is an absolute reptile or rodent. Absolutely insane. The liar Adam Schiff stands up, attacks DJT, and talks about truth this week. And what's right? He's talking about what's right and decency. Are you kidding me? This freak show is corrupt.
Truth should matter to us. What's right should matter to us. And even if it doesn't matter to the president, it should matter to us.
Sounds like
we are decent.
Yes.
You're as decent. Americans, we are decent.
You are.
We are
decent.
good and decent people. As Americans, that's who we are.
No, that's who we are, not him.
Sounds like he's calling for the 10 Commandments to be up on school walls.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, sponsored by Adam Schiff. God, that dude, man. I mean, he looks, sounds, and is exactly your quintessential corrupt politician. Horrific. My goodness. I was watching. I couldn't believe what I was watching. Unbelievable. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston using common sense and says it's time for people to start coming downtown again.
If we allow folks to commit crimes on our streets and sidewalks without consequence, that also does not solve crime. And today we're here to share that those days are over in Denver.
All right, let's go. Crime is a problem. The businesses are hurting. He announced a plan to do something about it, the Safe Downtown Action Plan, an investment of $570 million through the Downtown Development Authority should help make downtown Denver safer. An additional 10 officers will be working exclusively downtown.
They'll be dedicated just to downtown. That'll include foot patrol, it'll include bike patrol, it'll include motorcycle patrol. In addition, we'll add 3 more shifts of our park rangers, who will be 3 additional shifts a day coming up and through the downtown area as a way to activate and keep that supported.
Just in time for opening day. Be delays, more than likely will be delays. We'll see if it's postponed. Jeff will be there, and he'll be in his purple and black and ready to go.
You're going to be in a hat and gloves and ski gear.
That's right. Wear your ski gear. Make sure it's purple. Get the colors right. In Frisco, this is horrific. A suburb of North Dallas, at a high school track meet, 17-year-old Austin Metcalf asked another athlete from a different school to move. He was sitting in the wrong place. That 17-year-old, his name is Carmelo Anthony, different person, spelled with a K. He pulled out a knife, stabbed and murdered the 4.0 student athlete in front of his twin brother. He died in his twin brother's arms at this track meet, and the victim's father somehow spoke.
I'm not trying to judge, but what kind of parents did this child have? what was he taught? He brought a knife to a track meet, and he murdered my son by stabbing him in the heart. The guy was in the wrong place. They asked him to move, and he bowed up. This is murder. I don't know. I know they have someone in custody.
Yeah, we do.
And you know what? I already forgive this person.
Already?
Already. God takes care of things. God's going to take care of me. God's going to take care of my family.
Oh, my goodness. Will there be riots in the streets, protests? Will people burn down buildings? No. Most people will turn to God for help. Horrible story. Rockies getaway day once again. First pitch tomorrow, opening day. The getaway day is today in Philly, 11:05. First pitch. The Rockies are 1-4. Spurs over the Nuggets last night, 113-106. Day after Jokic scores 61, and the Avs over the Blackhawks 3-2. The final. 28 in Castle Pines, 30 in Erie, 31 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson News Talk 710 KNUS.
Cool, unsettled, and occasionally damp here along the Front Range through Saturday as an area of low pressure will hang overhead between now and the start of the weekend. Mostly cloudy, highs upper 40s, a few showers today, a few snow showers, 20s and low 30s tonight. Areas of wet snow Thursday into Thursday night, rain and snow showers Friday night into Saturday, and cool with highs only 30s and low 40s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
It's Tariff Palooza this morning following Donald Trump's executive orders for big sweeping tariffs yesterday. Wall Street Journal calling it the end of global trade. Rand Paul on the floor of the Senate last night, a violation of the Constitution. Jared Polis calling it the biggest tax hike in American history. But to Donald Trump, it's Liberation Day. Want to get to your phone calls and texts. Now, Trump yesterday says, look, this is reciprocal tariffs, and he calls them kind reciprocal tariffs.
Common sense reciprocal tariffs, again, reciprocal, back and forth. And I call this kind reciprocal. This is not full reciprocal. This is kind reciprocal. But what we do is we cut it in half. We charge them. My answer is very simple. If they complain, if you want your tariff rate to be zero, then you build your product right here in America, because there is no tariff if you build your product in America.
So is he going to bring manufacturing back to America? Has global free trade created some problems and challenges in this country? And are other countries abusing it, like China, by government subsidies into its steel industry, currency manipulation, stealing IP, those types of things? Let's go to the phone lines. Gary in Denver. Good morning, Gary. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning. Jeff, I got a question for you. And you're a nice guy, but do you remember a couple of months ago, you were swearing up and down to Billy and me that other countries pay tariffs. Do you still believe that's the case?
Other countries pay tariffs. I think it's more complicated than just saying the end consumer pays tariffs.
Do you believe other countries pay the tariffs?
No, I mean, I'm not sure I said that other countries pay the tariffs. I think that manufacturers pay part of the tariffs, the importers pay part of the tariffs, the consumers pay part of the tariffs. I think it's all combined there. I don't think I ever said, maybe I did, but I don't think I said other countries pay the tariffs.
Billy, do you believe what he just said? Don't you remember 2 months ago where he was swearing up and down that other countries pay the tariffs?
Well, the thing is, I'm not quite as far as you are on it. What he was talking about is Jeff was saying that he thought that the countries would absorb the cost of the tariffs in order to get their access to the U.S. economy. In order to get access to the U.S. consumers, he felt that the importers would be eating the tariff. And there is some precedent for some of that, but however, what it doesn't do, even with the countries eating the tariff, it doesn't make the good or product less expensive, because that they don't just eat the money and not get it back on the end. So the cost of the good you are exporting that is coming into America rises because it has become more expensive for the manufacturer. So even if the manufacturer says, okay, we'll deal with the tariff, etc., the cost still gets baked into the system. It still exists.
All right, that's fine. But this is, I'm not a Democrat, I'm an independent, but Trump is failing on everything except keeping people from crossing the border. That's the only thing he's accomplished. Everything else is or will be a disaster, and this most recent tariff thing is going to seal the House for the Democrats next September, because we're heading for a recession. Because I don't know about other people, but the first thing I was thinking about this morning is what I'm not going to buy in the next year, because I will not buy higher priced goods, whether they're manufactured here or in China, and that is going to drive this economy into a recession.
Now,
and
Gary,
Trump is going to...
Gary, I want to ask you about the health of our economy as it is now, okay? We've lost a number of manufacturing jobs. In fact, from 1997 to 2024, around 5 million manufacturing jobs have left this country. In many ways, I feel like yesterday was the revenge of Ross Perot, NAFTA, the giant sucking sound. We have a citizenry that doesn't have as much economic mobility as it used to. It's more dependent on government than ever before, but we have cheap avocados. Do you see any challenges with our current economy?
The challenge is, it's called creative destruction. There are certain manufacturing processes that will never come back, such as automobiles. And it's to our favor to allow countries that can build those things cheaply, to allow them to do that and import them. Our economy went through the COVID crisis where supply chains were disrupted, and that caused inflation. It was coming back until Trump got elected, and ever since then, it's just been a disaster. Things were heading in the right direction, Gary, and they have turned around.
You just talked about us relying on other countries for manufacturing. Trump yesterday saying that's a big problem. It's a national security problem that we have to rely on all these other countries. We should be building it here. Why is it a good thing to have to rely upon other countries for manufacturing?
I think there are certain products that, yes, for security purposes, we should build here, like ships, like certain metals. But for the bulk of the products that we import from other countries, they're fine. We haven't had a problem. We were coming out of the recession, or the COVID recession, and things were heading in the right direction. And Trump is blowing up everything. This time next year, people will realize what's going on, and they're going to not put up with it, and the house is going to turn. Mark my word.
Well, Gary, I want to ask you about those metals, because with steel, for instance, you have China that's subsidizing the steel industry, that's artificially driving down steel prices coming from China. American steel cannot compete with that. Manufacturers here in America and industries here in America are therefore buying Chinese steel. What would you do if you were the president to deal with a situation like that?
People constantly say, well, the economy was so great when Trump in his first term, and he used tariffs. But if you read Kevin Hassert's book that he just published about that time and how he managed tariffs they were targeted tariffs. They were in the 9% range, and they were targeted at things like steel and things that were important for our national security. But what he did yesterday is not targeted tariffs. It's across the board. And I would urge you to read Kevin Hassert's book about
and I'll
that.
check it out. But Gary, therefore you're not against tariffs?
I'm for targeted tariffs for certain products. Very few, maybe 3 or 4, and that's it. But mark my word, and I call every now and then. This time next year, we're going to be in a recession, and this is good news for the Democrats because they're going to take the House.
All right, Gary, I appreciate the call. Gary from Denver, phone line is open, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. I don't discount at all that this is disruptive. This is a major economic change. The question is, and I don't even believe it's going to be rainbows and unicorns throughout this entire change. But I think Trump's trying to address real challenges that our country faces with regards to manufacturing, national security, currency manipulation that takes place from other countries. And it is not fair the way America's treated by some of these other countries. He wants to right that ship. Is this the right way to do it? Now, this is Trump yesterday talking about a lot of the businesses that are coming back.
Here are just a short list of some of the companies that have already announced and committed to investment. And this is a company that built its factories and its plants in China. Apple is going to spend $500 billion. They never spent money like that here. They're going to build their plants here. SoftBank, OpenAI, and Oracle, great companies, are investing $500 billion almost immediately. NVIDIA, a hot company, is investing hundreds of billions of dollars. They just announced. TSMC, the biggest, most important company in the world of chips from Taiwan, with no investment from us, is investing $200 billion. And they said the reason was, number one, the election of November 5th, and number two, the tariffs. They don't want to pay the tariffs, and the way they're not paying it is to build their plant here. So we're going to go from almost no percentage. We used to have 100% of the chip market. Now it's all in Taiwan. Almost all of it's in Taiwan, a couple of other countries, but mostly in Taiwan. And think of it, we had 100%. We lost it because of people in that office that didn't do their job. They allowed it to be stolen from us. Johnson & Johnson, great company, $55 billion. Eli Lilly, $27 billion. Meta is investing $500 billion. Wow. DeMac is investing $20 billion. CMA, CGM, $20 billion. And then you have Merck and Clarios, Stellantis, General Motors, GE Aerospace, Honda, Nissan, Hyundai are all putting in billions and billions of dollars, and they're committed 100%.
So that's Donald Trump yesterday during his Liberation Day speech with regards to tariffs. Now, he comes with this list of businesses. Bill, do you think in light of these tariffs, you're going to see businesses move back to America?
No, not overall, because history has shown us again and again and again that once manufacturing leaves, tariffs don't bring them back. There are a few examples, but by and large, doesn't happen. And we can even point to recent history where Trump's tariffs that were in his first term supposed to bring manufacturing jobs back, and we lost manufacturing jobs. We had fewer manufacturing jobs at the end of Trump's term than we did at the beginning. And that's a problem if we're going to bring them back. And I'm not talking about people that lost jobs through COVID. I'm talking about availability of jobs. They shrank under Trump, and his tariffs were supposed to bring them back. Tariffs don't bring manufacturing back because, again, it's not bilateral trade. It's global trade. And so while the tariff may say we can't manufacture this in China, if it's less expensive to manufacture it in Taiwan, even with the tariff, that's where it goes. If it's less expensive in Mexico than manufacturing it here, that's where it goes. The other part to realize is that the idea that we would bring back large manufacturing plants for automobiles and that thousands and thousands of Americans would have these wonderful high-paying auto jobs, that's not true. Automation is taking manufacturing jobs, not trade. Not the idea of these companies going into another country.
But
it's automation that is taking the jobs.
Like
that's the reason.
Tesla, for instance, builds their cars, I believe, entirely in the United States or close to it.
Well, they have one facility here. They have several facilities elsewhere around the world. Yeah.
So, I mean, one car company's demonstrated you can build your fleets here in America, while other car companies require on or rely on other countries in order to manufacture the parts, put the parts together, and then get here.
But
so why
what's
wouldn't
the
this help that happen? So if Tesla, for instance, can do that, wouldn't these types of tariffs encourage other automobile industries to follow in the same path? And then if you're having more manufacturing here, you're having more American jobs here.
No, not necessarily. And remember this. Remember Elon, when he announced his Cybertruck, and then when he rolled it out, the cost was double what he announced he was going to manufacture it at. When he got down to brass tacks and actually had to manufacture it, it was twice what he claimed.
But I'm looking at other Teslas, and they run from $30,000 to $160,000 for the Cybertruck. But
he's been having to cut costs and prices on Tesla for the first time ever in the last 12 months as well. He's had to discount those prices because he can't move units.
Some political issues. I want to go back to manufacturing.
But he can't move units. He had his worst first quarter delivery numbers in the last 3 years announced this year.
Well,
so he's not moving
but I don't
units.
think that's necessarily just because they're manufactured in the United States.
No, but
there's a lot of political issues there as well.
But prior to the election, he was having to discount Teslas. He was offering discounts, and he was cutting down the price because the units weren't moving. So this is not something that just exists because of his.
The point being, though,
connection with
he
Trump.
has proven you can build cars in America, and while some are $160,000, is the other end of the range is $30,000.
Yeah, but you understand that all Teslas he's built in America, he's had to recall. 100% of them.
Yeah, but again,
he's recalled
the point being, he has demonstrated you can do manufacturing in America. And aren't these tariffs going to encourage the other auto industries to do manufacturing in America as well?
No, it won't.
But why not?
Because, again, tariffs don't bring manufacturing back because of the economies of scale. It's not an advantage unless you put enormous tariffs that would prevent a lot of other things coming into the country and then it would also raise the price of what goes on and what's manufactured here because of the existence of the tariffs. What we saw in the steel industry last time was U.S. Steel immediately raised their prices to right underneath the Chinese tariffs. It was a huge profit windfall for U.S. Steel, but the price artificially went up because of the tariffs. It is a tax on the American consumer, and tariffs do not bring manufacturing jobs back. They've never shown that over the course of history. Elon Musk didn't start his manufacturing company here because of tariffs. He didn't start and build Teslas here because of tariffs. It had zero to do with it. It was a different investment.
But he's shown that that manufacturing can come back to America.
But your question is, tariffs bringing manufacturing back, and that has not been proven over the course of history. It's not a motivator to bring manufacturing back into a country. Tariffs don't accomplish that, but there are very few examples of that happening, and that's the problem. It's not that we can't manufacture things here.
Trump just had a big list of companies that are coming back. Hyundai's rebuilding manufacturing here in the United States.
Let's see. Remember Foxconn from his first term? Do you remember Foxconn, the big announcement in Wisconsin? It was a huge investment. Foxconn built nothing. They got whole bunches of subsidies. They own a bunch of land, and they employ less than 1,000 people. And it was a huge announcement of how they're going to build all these TVs. Didn't happen. And it's not just Trump. Under the Biden administration, Apple announced a $500 billion investment in America. And the manufacturing that they promised didn't materialize, and they've scaled back their plans to invest. That money's gone back. So just because they promised something today doesn't mean it's invested. Biden made a huge deal about Apple and his $500 billion investment, and it never materialized. Never materialized.
All right,
so before
again,
we count our chickens, let's see.
It seems to me like the assumption coming from the other side is, well, manufacturing is just going to be gone forever. And there's nothing that we can do about it, and we're just going to be stuck with the way our economy currently goes. Is that the right way to approach it? Phone lines are lighting up 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Lots of text messages coming in. Everything from Jeff is dumb and has no idea about tariffs to great point on automation. CNBC, CBS, and MSNBC all getting this one wrong. You're on the wrong side, Billy. Well said, Jeff. It's all over the place this morning. What do you think about the tariffs? We want you to be a part of the conversation. Bill is taking the phone calls, and I'm going to tell you about the Art of Granite. Now, this is a great local company you should absolutely use for your perfect kitchen or bathroom remodel. Here's why. One, quality craftsmanship. Mitch is such an expert and craftsman that he can turn granite, quartz, marble, and other materials into a true work of art right in your own home. Superior service. From single residential installations to large-scale projects, Mitch and his team's attention to details unmatched. They will listen to you and get you what you need. 3, great value. Mitch provides granite from his own warehouse in Denver West at wholesale prices with no markup, so you can get the most for your budget. All you have to do is mention KNUS and receive a bathroom countertop free when you purchase your fantastic new kitchen countertops. You can also get a kitchen and bathroom sink free when you purchase any countertop package. Schedule a consultation today with Mitch and visit his beautiful showroom in Denver West or call Mitch at 303-386-5919. That's 303-386-5919, or you can visit his website at theartofgranite.com to start dreaming about your new countertops. That's theartofgranite.com. All right, we've got near full phone lines. Yesterday's tariff announcement, Donald Trump calling them a day of liberation. And I don't disagree at all that this is a seismic change in our economy. But are we in a place where we need that change to happen? We have a citizenry here that's more obese, depressed, addicted to drugs, unable to advance economically, more dependent on the government than at any point in American history. We've lost 5 million manufacturing jobs since 1997. And you have China and other countries manipulating their currency, stealing IP, subsidizing their own industry, so it's not free trade. What needs to be done? If tariffs aren't the right thing to do, if these tariffs are too broad, do you go to targeted tariffs? Some have argued that. Well, then you're arguing that tariffs work in some capacity, but maybe just not this broad. But I think there's real challenges to the American economy. I don't think we're back in Smoot-Hawley times. There's differences between that. But what does need to be done, if not tariffs, to address the global trade challenges we're facing? Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us at 720-819-5115. We'll get to your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Is this the revenge of Ross Perot? Here's Donald Trump yesterday on NAFTA.
$1.2 trillion, which is unheard of. Since the beginning of NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made. It was a horror show. I was able to terminate it. They all said you'd never be able to get it out. We had to get approval from Congress to get it terminated. We had to live with that deal. It was the worst trade deal ever made by far. But since the very beginning of NAFTA, our country lost 90,000 factories. Think of what that is, 90,000. Think about putting a map up and putting tax on it. You wouldn't have enough room. 90,000. I said, is that possible? We had it checked 4 different times, and it was actually somewhat higher than that. And 5 million manufacturing jobs were lost while racking up trade deficits of $19 trillion. That was the worst trade deal ever made. As a result of these gigantic losses, foreign nations now own $26 trillion more of American assets than think of this, than the Americans own of their own foreign assets or other foreign assets.
Has free trade been a problem now for America? And do we need to address it? Was yesterday Liberation Day with additional tariffs, or, as the Wall Street Journal says, the end of global trade? Let's go to the phone lines. Raphael, Denver, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, guys. I just have a couple of points to do it. I'm not an expert on building cars, but I assume that why Tesla is able to build cars here in the United States is because it's less moving parts than an internal combustion engine. And also, if you hire somebody over here in the United States to work in an assembly factory, it takes about $30 per hour. On top of that, you add another 30% will be about $45 an hour for Social Security, Medicaid, unemployment, state, federal, all the stuff. $45 per hour. Now, in Mexico, they make $45 a week. So even if they put 500% tariffs, it's still cheaper to build in Mexico. Now, I don't see Ford or GMC bringing their manufacturers over here to the United States because it will take about 3 or 4 years to build the complex and to train the people. By that time, Trump is going to be out, and God knows what's going to happen. So I don't see any of this. So maybe I'm pessimistic, but that's
Raphael, the challenge and the guys behind Trump's thinking don't discount what you're saying in the sense of going, yeah, you're exactly right. It's easier to manufacture down there. It's just cheaper down there. Okay. But look what's happened to our society. All right. You basically, if you're not a specialist in being able to become a doctor, a lawyer, that type of thing, a lot of the options out there are like driving for Uber or driving for Amazon. So we have all this cheap material coming into our country that we can manufacture and build, but we don't have the ability to provide manufacturing jobs for people anymore. And so, yes, you can absolutely get a cheap TV. You can absolutely get a cheap TV. But we have a society that's more depressed, more dependent on government, more drug addicted, more obese than at any point in American history. So, yes, the job options for you out there are to drive for Uber or to become maybe a doctor or lawyer, but there's not a lot in between it.
Well, the depression and the drug use and abuse, the government has nothing to do with that. That's the family. And we become more addicted to technology.
Raphael, disagree. I think it has a lot to do with having a job, having opportunities, economic mobility.
People over here have jobs. I mean, I'm in the construction industry. Everybody's working. The only people that don't want to work is the people that don't want to work. But, I mean, there is jobs out there. They just choose not to because sometimes the government, freebies is better for them, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, it's just my opinion. Electric cars require less moving parts. It's easier to build. I assume your only batteries and 4 motors. I mean, more than that. I'm just, assuming that. And that's why you require more people to build an internal combustion engine car than an electric car.
Yeah, Raphael, you're right. And the other part is, remember that under Joe Biden's, the Inflation Reduction Act, there are investments for companies to build things like EV batteries and those things here, and those were tax breaks. They weren't tariffs, but they were encouraging bringing manufacturing into the U.S. using tax breaks for those companies, not the punitive ideas of tariffs. And I agree with you that when Jeff is saying that the depression and the obesity, I don't see a correlation or a connection there between that and tariffs. But we can talk about that later. Yeah.
All right, Raphael,
Thanks, Raphael.
great call. Appreciate it. Let's continue. We got time. Yeah, let's go to Denver, or Kenton in Denver. Good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, fellas. I'm 101% in favor of raising the import tariffs. And I want to tell you something about Denver and Colorado. We are not a manufacturing industrial state. So when Bill Clinton literally slaughtered NAFTA, we didn't notice so much. But that was one of the reasons why our standard of living is as high as it was, is because of import tariffs. It protected our unions, it protected our manufacturers, it protected our oil companies. And when they started slaughtering NAFTA, and then Hillary Clinton's been in bed with China along with Joe Biden for God only knows how many years. And that's why our trade deficit is so bad, so big. It has literally destroyed us. You want to remember.
I got two things. Questions there for you. First of all, what do you do with Donald Trump and the USMCA? He renegotiated NAFTA and at the time said it was the greatest trade deal in the history of the world. Was he being truthful at that time? Was he wrong about the trade deal that he renegotiated? Because now he's blowing it up. He's saying everything that was accomplished with USMCA is crap. So where is he correct? Is he correct that USMCA was the greatest trade deal in the history of the world? Or is he correct that it's crap and we need to blow it up and we need to do all these tariffs? In your opinion?
No, we need to eliminate this crap. It's elimination. I'm not giving Biden, Bill Clinton is the one who screwed it up. And
Bill Clinton went more global trade, but Reagan was very much anti-tariff as well. He made a speech about it in the mid-'80s. And goes through the idea that he thinks tariffs are horrible. So I'm not certain you can lay it at the feet of Bill Clinton. I understand why politically we want to, but tariffs started to drop. To my understanding, that tariffs started to drop post-World War II in America because the idea being the economies of scale,
No.
Yeah, I think they did.
It was the other way around.
No, I don't think they went up post-World War II. No, I don't think so.
Yes, they went up on their tariffs after World War II, and we're simple Simon farmers from northeastern Colorado. And my dad had told me how we'd priced ourselves out of the world market. And that was a lot of it. And you want to remember, when they passed NAFTA and all this, Detroit had literally square blocks of vacant houses because they lost their automotive industry. And what they're bringing back to America will be these good-paying jobs where people can.
I disagree, Kenton. I disagree. That Detroit was already in that situation before NAFTA.
I lived. Did you? How old are you?
I'm in my 50s. I was around during NAFTA.
Oh, you're a kid. I'm going to be 81 the 13th of this month.
Does that? Congratulations! Happy birthday! Happy birthday, Kenton. That's wonderful that you've lived such a long life. But hang on, we have contemporary experience at the same time of the U.S. And what you're saying about NAFTA is not correct.
I grew up in the 50s and 60s when every major company in America was hired. Every major company in America was hired. And when they started screwing up our import tariffs, that's when we lost jobs. That's when college students started working at Starbucks.
Kenton, I appreciate the call. Kenton from Denver, 303-696-1971. We got an open line there. We'll continue the debate between...
I have to apologize. There's someone that keeps calling, and every time I pick it up, and you've called probably at least a dozen times so far. I'm so sorry. When I pick up, I can hear the radio station in the background, but I can't hear you. The speaker, whatever it is, as far as trying to communicate, I apologize over and over again that I keep hanging up. But every time I say, do you want to talk to us? There's nothing there. So I'm sorry. I'm not doing this on purpose. I'm just saying the person's really, really intent on wanting to talk to us, and I feel bad about it because I'm curious what they want to say.
All right. We'll continue. Jason's got a good text here. Do you have any issue with one person being able to unilaterally raise taxes on U.S. taxpayers? That was essentially Rand Paul's argument yesterday on the floor of the Senate. I'll get to that and address that. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Wow, Bill and I could continue for another few hours
Yes, we
on
could.
tariffs. This debate is going to continue, and it's going to rage, believe me, for weeks, months, years from now, is whether or not it's going to work to drive manufacturing jobs back. But the big debate in the Hunt House, because we respect Rand Paul so much, was his floor speech yesterday challenging whether or not the president has the constitutional authority to implement taxes. Now, if you believe tariff is a tax, then yes, Jared Polis believes that as well. But I also see it as a foreign negotiation. So does the president therefore have the ability to negotiate foreign policy? Yes, of course he does. And maybe one of the areas we decided on in our conversation and in our family was, well, maybe it doesn't need to be either or. The president could do an initial tariff based upon what he believes is a negotiation with the country, because there are other policy negotiations around that. You see about border security in Mexico. But I also am not sure that Congress is the place to try to negotiate particular tariff rates with particular countries. Like, that just seems like that would never take place. And there'd be all these debates and questions and special interests that would come in. So, Bill, maybe not all broad sweeping tariffs that Trump did yesterday, but do you believe that the president has the ability to negotiate tariffs, or should that belong with Congress?
I think it's twofold. I believe that the president, simply because of the idea that you outlined, trying to get, be serious with me here. The only thing we're going to get 500 people plus to agree on is let's raise our pay and go on vacation.
Yeah,
it's the only thing we can get.
Thank you, Brittany Pedersen.
Exactly. So it's the only thing we're going to get. So I think the president should be allowed to negotiate tariffs, but I think it has to be approved by Congress. And I think that Congress should have to bring it forward and keep it. And I think that also prevents the president from going too far outside a field, that he has to constrain himself based on this, and it gives him a lever inside of that negotiation. I'm sorry, I couldn't possibly get something like that through Congress. You got to understand these crazy people I'm dealing with. Have you seen them? Have you seen what Chuck Schumer does? Come on here, we can't possibly go that way.
What about
it's got a lever there.
What about like how we treat the War Powers Act, where the president, you have the freedom to go in there and respond quickly.
That's interesting.
But if you're going to do long term, like maybe tariffs greater than 30 days, then Congress needs to get involved.
Oh, yeah. That's where I would go with it. And I think that's what the Democrats are doing, because the Democrats in the Senate are trying to invalidate Trump's declaration of emergency powers in order to claw back his ability to do some of these things. And that's what the Democrats are playing for right now, in my opinion, in the Senate, is they're trying to get a few Republicans on board with them so that they can constrain this flurry of executive orders and announcements of tariffs and everything else. So we'll see how that plays out. However, it's the Democrats in the Senate, led by Chuck Schumer. So I wouldn't be too scared if you're a Republican. That's come on. You're not going to be that scared of him being able to make sure this works. So,
now,
yeah.
Bill, right after this, I'm going to go grab lunch, and then I'm in the market for a new car.
Oh,
so I'm going to
that's
swing
not good.
by and test drive some cars, and then talk with the folks about what they're seeing, experiencing, because one of the things that was interesting was that in the run-up to these tariffs being announced yesterday, there was a 13% increase in new car purchases.
Yeah, there is, because your friend and not mine, Art Laffer, did a 21-page analysis of the proposed Trump tariffs. This is before the announcement yesterday.
Yeah.
And he said that if Trump sticks with a 25% tariff on auto manufacturing outside of the U.S., it will cost the average American car consumer $4,700 extra per car.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that all plays out. This debate will definitely continue. We'll have it here at 710 KNUS. I want to thank everybody for calling in and texting. Erin Lee is going to join us next because of that new law being introduced at the state capitol that if you misgender somebody, it's a civil rights violation. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is KNUS.
It's 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. And boy, that conversation the last few hours has been all over the spectrum, from people supporting the president and his tariffs to people saying we are now heading for a recession. What are we thinking? I want to thank everybody for being a part of that conversation. That's why we love this show and appreciate each and every one of you. We're now going to pivot and talk about House Bill, 1312, which was down at the Colorado State Capitol. This is the one that said if you misgender somebody as a business, you can be brought up on civil rights action, basically turning every business into a Jack Phillips situation. Welcome to the restaurant, ma'am. It's sir. Oh, boy. Now we're being brought up on civil rights charges? Great. Wonderful. So now we're going to have to deal with that. Was not in the room. I used to run lobbying operations. I'm not down at the state capitol, but I want to talk with Erin Lee because she was there, a fierce defender against this bill, and we'll talk about what that experience was like. So not going to want to miss this conversation, but now is time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. It's 32 and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 42 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
But for now, for your customer's sake, for your daughter's sake, you might want to think about buying a quality product from me. Okay, I'll buy from you. Oh, that's...
What? Bring back the jobs to the Rust Belt in America, just like in Tommy Boy. It was Liberation Day on Wednesday, and plenty of doubters and negative Nancys out there, but many believe we don't have a choice in the U.S. We have to do this, and a lot say this is the first step for DJT to do what he loves to do, negotiate with all countries in the world.
And again, I don't blame the people for doing it. I think they're very smart in doing it. I blame the people that sat right in that Oval Office, right over there, right behind the Resolute desk or whichever desk they chose. Japan, 46%. They would charge us 46%, and much higher for certain items like cars, little items like cars. 46%, we're charging them 24%. India, very, very tough, very, very tough. Prime Minister just left. And he's a great friend of mine, but I said, you're a friend of mine, but you're not treating us right. They charge us 52%. You have to understand, we charge them almost nothing for years and years and decades. And it was only 7 years ago when I came in, we started with China and charged them. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China.
So channel your inner Tommy Boy and let's go and believe in America.
Talk about lame.
Totally. You can change it if you want.
I don't care. It's up to you.
I can live with it if you can.
Suit yourself.
Our country and its taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years, but it is not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen.
All right. Blake, the fact you overlaid Trump with Tommy Boy, and you're basically setting the stage that Donald Trump is Chris Farley saving America out on the road, making it happen.
That's right.
Learning the sales process. I love you, man. That is so
I love
good.
You too, man.
So good.
I grew up in a time when one of the best movies Billy remembers is All the Right Moves, Tom Cruise. Right?
Oh yeah.
And man, that was Western PA and all the factories and steel mills, and it was starting to decline. But even back then, man, all the families worked there. They played football on Friday nights. That's what that movie was all about. We got to bring that back, man, somehow, some way. So I think it's worth a shot, And I'm going to watch that movie like 100 times today. I think, if I can.
Now, Bill, there's quite the admirer in the text messages. Did you see this?
No, I can't see them because
you're logging in.
No, my computer is
6430. Bill, you are so smart. I learned so much from you. Thank you. And I wondered if this was maybe someone joking, but they were right. I've gone above. Bill, you are so smart. Heart emoji.
Oh, actually, that's.
I'm with you, Bill, all the way.
Thank you so much. It's I appreciate that. Tell Mom I'll call her later today. I appreciate that, Mom. It's wonderful that you listen every day.
Now,
and I thank you so much, and I will text you.
This sounds a little different than motherly love.
I don't know. I can't see it.
Quite the admirer there.
I'm trying to figure out. My machine has not done anything productive for about an hour, which kind of is the same thing with me. So I'm feeling the same thing here. So I'm trying to get my machine up and running. So I can't see anything right now. I can't see a thing.
I want to see.
I just love the fact after 2 hours of fierce debate, we are now talking Tommy Boy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And Bill's secret admirer on the text messages.
That's right. I love it, man.
That makes this show better and different than anything else on the planet.
Just don't misgender, okay?
Yeah.
Tariffs are going to make America better again. No, tariffs are going to destroy America. Tommy Boy.
Yeah, just like we were talking about what was going on yesterday. We're like, was Cory Booker wearing diapers?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just one of those things.
That's all I heard yesterday after we were done.
Yes.
I mean, everybody was talking about that. And what kind of diapers. And man, I learned more about diapers than I ever have.
And it's stupid because I'm watching old reruns and I'm not in the demographic. So I have a large knowledge of adult diapers that I really should not possess at my age. But it is my fault.
It's
Dude,
so true.
I want to know that conversation that happened with Cory Booker and his staff yesterday.
Yeah.
Because somebody, not the senator,
Oh, yeah.
went
he didn't
out
go do
and
it himself.
bought them.
Yeah, no. Yeah, he was not himself because if it's him buying the diapers, the person behind the counter is going to tell everybody, guess who was buying diapers?
Can you imagine that
Yes.
intern just being texting their mom, I don't know if this was the right decision.
Yeah, do you remember, Mom, when we paid hundreds of $1,000s for school and this is how it's paid off?
Right.
Yeah. Glad I got into that Ivy League college.
Walgreens to buy diapers for a U.S. senator.
Yes, so he can
And
stand
it's not Mitch McConnell.
Yes, so he can stand in the well and pee his pants and not show anything. That's why I'm doing this for the country. Yeah, that's great.
It's crazy, man. Hey, New York Mayor Eric Adams, he was not wearing diapers when he did this, I don't think. But an interesting endorsement. He knows what political weaponization looks like from his own party, the Democrats. Recommends a book on Wednesday.
And New Yorkers stop me all the time in trying to find the rationale behind this. And I found it in this book. I'm going to encourage every New Yorker to read it.
Yeah, new FBI Director Kash Patel, his book, Government Gangsters. Speaking of mayors, Denver Mayor Mike Johnston using common sense and says it's time for people to start coming down to downtown Denver again. We agree.
If we allow folks to commit crimes on our streets and sidewalks without consequence, that also does not solve crime. And today we're here to share that those days are over in Denver.
All right, love it.
My
Clean it
favorite
up.
is when, and I do want to thank Mayor Mike Johnson for this, but I love when Democrats hold a big press conference. And make this big announcement that's just common sense for the rest of the people.
Right.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm announcing today a big new initiative to not have my fellow citizens mugged. Okay. Glad you finally got there, Mayor Mikey.
I'm going to call it the Anti-Mugging Project. Oh, man, I love it. So there will be more police officers downtown.
That'll be dedicated just to downtown. That'll include foot patrol. It'll include bike patrol. It'll include motorcycle patrol. In addition, we'll add 3 more shifts of our park rangers, who will be 3 additional shifts a day coming up and through the downtown area as a way to activate and keep that supported.
Time for opening day tomorrow at 2:10. Make sure you bring your gloves and your ski gear like Jeff. He'll be out there. Dan Coe, former White House Deputy Cabinet Secretary under Biden. Let me see if I can find this one. Yeah, he was under Biden and criticizing DJT and the administration for for almost everything on CNN, and Scott Jennings, once again, has to call him out. No.
You held a high-ranking position with Joe Biden, did you not?
Yes, you did. You did with George W. Bush.
Did you recall a single person in your White House or in your Democratic Party asking for the resignation of Lloyd Austin after Afghanistan, after the drone strike vaporized those kids, or after he went AWOL? Yes or no?
Secretary Austin never compromised American lives with
information.
13
American lives were more than compromised. They were ended.
Facts matter. Let's see. The Avalanche over the Blackhawks.
The right
last
answer
night,
is
3-2.
I should have. I mean, it's
exactly.
In light of that, just go. I should have, guys. And miss that doesn't. And at this point, I feel like I need to hold the Trump administration accountable. Whatever.
Absolutely.
But just he didn't compromise lives. Yeah, he did.
No, of course not. He's never responsible. None of them are. Rockies, at least on the left. Rockies getaway day today in Philly. 11:05 first pitch, and they're 1-4. Try to win their second game today before opening day tomorrow. The Spurs over the Nuggets last night, 113-106. A day after Jokic scored freaking 61 points. 31 in Aurora, 29 in Golden, 32 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
When I first became a public defender, I had no criminal defense experience. And I walked in and I told my boss, Charlie, I said, listen, you should hire me. He said, why? I said, because I'm black. Charlie looked at me like I was crazy.
Wow. Yes. Charlie was right. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Cool, unsettled, and occasionally damp here along the Front Range through Saturday as an area of low pressure will hang overhead between now and the start of the weekend. Mostly cloudy, highs upper 40s, a few showers today, a few snow showers, 20s and low 30s tonight. Areas of wet snow Thursday into Thursday night, rain and snow showers Friday night into Saturday, and cool with highs only 30s and low 40s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
We're going to talk to Erin Lee here in a second. I want to talk to you about my good friend, Dan Caplis with Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. Pro-life, pro-family, pro-faith, pro-America. He's right there with us on the values. That matters because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everybody involved in the case, the judges, the other insurance company attorneys, all that stuff. And Dan's got a sterling reputation. 40 years dedicated to serving people hurt in motor vehicle crashes. He's all about getting justice. Listen to this, these facts when it comes to winning. Okay, Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is so trusted that he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, you can give him a call, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P, lislaw.com. All right, so not yesterday, but the day before, we had Representative Jarvis Caldwell. And he informed us that very quickly, late last week, there was a bill being introduced that would basically allow people to bring a business before the Civil Rights Commission here in Colorado if you accidentally, doesn't have to be intentional, accidentally misgender somebody. Somebody comes in and you go, welcome to our little coffee shop, ma'am. It's sir. Well, then you could take the nice little Jack Phillips road to a U.S. Supreme Court battle. This because they want to, the Democrats down at the state capitol want to put into law, quote, transgender rights. And it gets even crazier around custody issues, what the courts will look at if you have one parent that believes a child is suffering from gender dysphoria, another parent doesn't think it's a big deal. Where could custody go? This is very complicated. It was dropped very quickly down at the state capitol. And in fact, Democrats were even asked, did you work alongside or even have meetings with people that would disagree with you, what's called a stakeholder meeting? Did you even listen to them, meet with them? This was their response at the state capitol.
We'd heard from multiple witnesses that this bill has been worked on for over a year. I will say I learned about this bill yesterday. It was introduced Friday evening. I really am curious about how much stakeholdering went on both sides of the issue, and if parent groups that are not a part of the LGBT community, if they were involved.
A well-stakeholdered bill does not need to be discussed with hate groups. And we don't ask someone passing civil rights legislation to go ask the KKK their opinion.
But I agree, there's no reason to go to the table with people who are echoing the hateful rhetoric going around about the trans community.
Believe in two genders? Well, Democrats down at the Colorado State Capitol consider you part of a hate group akin to the KKK. Well, I was not in the room. I heard the debate was very spicy. Somebody that helped lead the effort to protect parents and kids from this radical ideology, Erin Lee, Protect Kids Colorado. She joins us now this morning. Good morning, Erin. Thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, good morning.
Hey, Jeff and Bill. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about what the committee hearing was like. You watched it. You participated in it. Give us a sense of the flavor, the atmosphere there.
It was like the best way to describe it would be upside down clown world, make believe, pretend land, where anyone who spoke rational truth was condemned, as you heard, as a hate group or the KKK. And we were just completely ignored. It's crazy because, as you heard, they had a year to prepare for this bill to be dropped. They knew exactly what they were doing. We were schemed against. Those of us who dissent to this bill didn't know about it until Monday, 24 hours before the committee hearing. But I have to share some good news. With just 24 hours notice, we turned out more expert witnesses to oppose this bill than they turned out supporters. So they had a year to prepare. We had 24 hours, and we still had more people show up in opposition, proving that we're paying attention in Colorado and that we, the people, do not agree with these blatantly unconstitutional bills that they are passing in the night.
Well, I want to talk to you about the impact of this bill. This is called the Legal Protections for Transgender Individuals, House Bill 25-1312. It's got a number of sections. It gets into a lot of different areas, from custody to how a business can run and talk to its own customers. What were the concerns from you, from those in the room, from the experts that you just mentioned about this bill?
Yeah, well, first off, I ended my testimony by saying you're not honoring transgender people with this bill. It seems like they are just using the very real pain of gender dysphoria to push an agenda, and the agenda is an attack on parental rights and First Amendment rights and extending government overreach. But, you know, on its face, this bill is completely unconstitutional. Anyone who looks at it can see that. It's a complete, they're compelling our First Amendment right, their compelling speech. But for me personally, you know, having worked with so many families who've been affected by gender insanity for about 4 years now, I'm especially concerned for the parents in custody situations. I know fathers both here in Colorado and in other states, dozens of them, who've already lost their parental rights because they were not okay with their child being medically transitioned. In fact, a dad testified that he was on board with it. His wife suddenly identified as trans. He supported her. Then they took their 7-year-old into the True Center to receive puberty blockers, and he just expressed caution because no one else did. He said, wait a minute, no one is asking any questions. No one's exhibiting any caution. I just feel like I have to be the one person to say, let's ask some questions. Let's make sure we're being careful. And for that, he has been completely stripped of his parental rights. His 5- and 7-year-old, who both now identify as transgender, according to the wife, have been completely taken away from him. And there are so many stories stories like that. It's already happening, but what this bill does is ensure that any parent who questions their child being medically transitioned will lose their parental rights. And it's ironic that they define it as coercive control for not affirming a child's mental illness, when in fact this blows the door wide open for coercive control by those parents who wish to sterilize and mutilate their kids against the other parent's wishes. And then the other side of that, the parents who will be affected, is those who are unfortunate enough, like myself, to experience the weaponization of CPS. We've seen it happen all over the country. Good, loving parents who said, I'm not willing to medically transition my child, like the Kolstads in Montana, have completely lost custody of their children, really just for being good parents. If this had happened 4 years ago, if this bill had been in existence when a mandated reporter showed up to my home because
have visitation or any custody with their children simply because they have differing religious beliefs, for instance, right? I mean, wouldn't this essentially do the same thing, but just with transgenderism?
We heard it straight from the mouth of the legislators who ran and voted to push this bill through, that they believe any parent who is not part of the LGBTQ community is a Nazi and a hate group and part of the KKK. And so it's clearly a blatant attack on traditional values, on Christianity, on biological fundamental truths that there are only two sexes. They're not even being shy about it. It's certainly an attack on anyone who doesn't think like the bill sponsors do. And I should point out that this bill is so heavy and multifaceted. Most people probably didn't catch this, but it labels threatening to misgender someone as discrimination under COTA. So technically, this is a thought crime bill. If you even think about misgendering someone in any public place, then that is now defined as discrimination.
Talking with Erin Lee. Erin's with an organization called Protect Kids Colorado about House Bill 251312, introduced very rapidly, but being planned behind the scenes for a long time now. Erin, oftentimes what I've learned being down there at the state capitol is the representatives aren't smart enough to put this bill together. Somebody else did. And oftentimes what I would find was that groups like the ACLU or Planned Parenthood were the ones actually behind this. Any inkling or thoughts, or did you hear who or which organizations are in support of this? Who's really behind this type of bill?
Oh, yeah, they've been advertising it for about a year. So there's a woman that goes by the name of Z. She's a pro-Hamas protester. She's the one that led the sit-in on DU's campus for weeks. She's a mother of 5. She birthed 5 children, but she's a lawyer for a company called Bread and Roses, which is a divorce law organization, which she stands to gain from this law. She absolutely will be involved in the custody hearings that are affected by this law, but she's a radical protester and is clearly mentally ill. I mean, she totes her 5 children around to these radical rallies that she organizes, and she's definitely not someone who's mentally fit to determine law for all Coloradans. So it's a woman named Z who's organized all of this and pushed it through Lorena Garcia, who I should point out is an appointed representative and a proud member of the Democratic Socialists of America, and that's who she got to run this bill on her behalf.
We're talking with Erin Lee. She's with Protect Kids Colorado. Now, look, you're not an attorney. I'm not. Bill's not. But there is a case heading towards the U.S. Supreme Court right now in Colorado because of compelled speech, and that has to do with conversion therapy. And I fought against this bill. I was like one of the main stakeholders in the room going, this is a pure violation of free speech because the government's coming in and telling parents and counselors which way to counsel a child. There's only one way under Colorado law right now to counsel a child that's dealing with gender dysphoria, and that is to embrace transgenderism. So I want to repeat this for people. If you take a child right now to a counselor and you're like, little Johnny doesn't know if he's a boy or girl, just doesn't even know, would you talk to little Johnny and ask some questions? See what's really going on here. Maybe it's gender dysphoria. Maybe little Johnny's just watching some stuff on TV and YouTube and doesn't really know. Okay, in that scenario, by law in Colorado, that counselor has only one thing they can do, and that is to encourage them to transition to a different gender. Now, that law is being brought up and challenged and has been granted cert at the U.S. Supreme Court. So the U.S. Supreme Court's going to hear that type of law. Now, in this case, again, you have a very similar situation here, that if you're a parent, the judge is going to rule only in one direction, that if whatever parent is embracing transgenderism, the law is going to go in that direction. Was this brought up? The fact that the U.S. Supreme Court is looking at a very similar problem right now that Colorado's already produced, and they want to pass a law that has similar flaws. Was that brought up during this hearing at all?
Interestingly, I don't think that it was. I actually filed an amicus brief in that case in the hopes that the Supreme Court would take it up. I'm so pleased that they have. I was personally affected by that law, House Bill 1911-29. When we took our gender-confused 12-year-old to therapy, we didn't understand that they were compelled to only affirm her gender confusion, and therapy ultimately made my daughter worse and led her into a depression that resulted in suicidality. So I've been deeply affected by that compelled speech law. Interestingly, it was not brought up, but my lawyer here in Colorado, Brad Bergford from Illumin Law, did testify against this bill on Monday night. He testified to the fact that it was blatantly unconstitutional, that it was compelled speech, that it would not hold up in court. What's unfortunate, Jack Phillips had better get ready for round 3 because that's exactly what this opens the door for. And unfortunately, that's what happens in Colorado. We have no checks and balances. We have no stop guard for these radically unconstitutional bills. And so they pass, then someone has to take it up in court. Then 5 to 6 years later, the Supreme Court will hear it and strike it down. But in the meantime, for those 5 to 6 years, Coloradans will suffer. And in this case, families will suffer. Children will be transitioned, and it will ultimately lead to being medicalized or suicide. And there are really serious ramifications for these bills getting passed.
We're talking with Erin Lee with Protect Kids Colorado. Now, did you hear from the business community during these hearing committee meetings? Because you bring up Jack Phillips, and this law under Section 8 and 9 would define dead naming and misgendering as discriminatory acts in the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act. Now, I looked this up. If you deliberately call somebody an N-word in your business, they can bring you before the Colorado Civil Rights Commission for violating the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act. Now, if you misgender somebody or dead name them, you could now be brought forth the same organization under the same act. Did you hear from the business community that's concerned that this is going to be a violation of free speech? We're going to see not just Jack having to relive all this, but other businesses. You're going to be compelled by government. If you believe in your core that there are two genders and you can't change them, and somebody's either male or female, you are now compelled by the government to now embrace the transgender ideology, even if it's against your religion. And if you say the wrong words, you will be brought before the Colorado Civil Rights Commission. What did the business community have to say on this?
Yeah, there were both business owners and lawyers who testified that this was a complete infringement of their First Amendment rights, but also charter and private schools. There's an explicit part within this bill that attacks charter schools. It also applies to private, that they can no longer have a gendered dress code. So they cannot have dress code based on biological sex. And it also compels their speech. The way this is worded, it says this affects any place of public accommodation. And for people that don't understand what that is defined as in statute, that's any place where any member of the public can go. So that's private schools, that's churches, that's private businesses. Literally every Coloradan who goes out in public is affected by this bill. It's not just schools, business owners, and families. It's everyone.
Well, I'm sure I'll be the first on the list. They dragged me before the Colorado Civil Rights Commission. We're talking with Erin Lee, Protect Kids Colorado, with House Bill 251312. Any Democrat break on this? Did any Democrat join the Republican side, or did they all vote to pass this?
No, they all 7 voted to pass it, and not surprisingly, these are 6 of the 7 also voted against holding child rapists accountable. So it's the same committee that protects child rapists that is now attacking families and anyone who doesn't think like them. Again, half of them are Democratic Socialists of America. Proudly, they're a very radical committee. And so no one broke party on this. And they even, were belittling and demeaning to those of us who had showed up to oppose. They were all, quote unquote, enthusiastic yeses on pushing this through, and I anticipate that it will pass. I should also point out that last night they rammed through another bill furthering transgender ideology that will require taxpayers, all insurance providers, to cover all gender-affirming care. And it also gives doctors the ability to basically anonymously prescribe testosterone. It takes it off of the reporting schedule so that there's no data being tracked about the number of testosterone prescriptions being prescribed. Again, this is a complete violation of our rights. Taxpayers should not have to pay for the breast augmentation and rhinoplasties of men who want to be women, while women who pursue these elective procedures do not have it covered under their insurance.
That's Erin Lee from Protect Kids Colorado. I can agree with you on the idea of taxpayer subsidies for that. That's really, really stupid. However, I would disagree with both you and Jeff about the idea of doing away with a gender-based dress code. And this is not me sitting here as a grown-ass man. I was against gender-based dress codes going to a private school when I was still in middle school. I signed a petition to not have gender-based dress codes at our school because I didn't like the delineation. And it does seem why was Bill being this kind of an activist back then? No. The girls got to wear shorts because they had skirts and they could wear shorts. We couldn't wear shorts. That was prohibited by the dress code specifically. So, yeah, I pushed back in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade against a gender-based dress code because I wanted to wear shorts. So, again, I'm not as much of a...
You were the kid that was like, it was like negative 10 degrees outside wearing flip-flops and shorts.
I would, but the issue for me was, we're talking about summer and spring. You get to, April, May, and you're sitting there, and the girls are running outside, and they've taken off their skirts, they put them on the side there, and they're running around on recess in shorts. We go outside, and we play kickball outside in PE. They're wearing shorts, and I am sweaty. I am sweaty and moist in places that made me uncomfortable at that age. I'm just saying. So I'm just putting that on the air. I'm not worried about arguing about it or anything else. I'm just saying I'm a weird kid. Also, I understand the idea of the misgendering as far as a business. Now, where I disagree, I respect what the Democrats are trying to do in theory, but as many things, their heart may be in the right place, but their mind is not. And the problem I have with their punishment mechanism for misgendering someone in a business is it lacks malice. This is something where I go back to defamation and libel law. Part of the way that you hold someone liable for defamation is because they were motivated by actual malice. They meant to hurt you. They used it prejudicially, and they were using it as a pejorative. That, for me, I think we can get to the idea that in whatever setting inside of a business, if you are using something and saying something to someone else that is designed specifically to hurt them and designed specifically to invalidate them, I think we can get there, but malice has to be part of it. It takes away the idea of a mistake.
If somebody was going, MAGA is destructive, MAGA are Nazis in a business. Yeah. MAGA are Nazis.
Yeah.
Should they be brought up on some type of government tribunal?
No, they should be told to leave. They absolutely should be told to leave.
The business. I'm talking about the business owner.
No, not at all. No, I don't believe
so.
so.
But that's hate and malice towards somebody.
No, hang on a second. No, the idea is what I'm talking about is the motivation of the business. And that's what we're talking about, the business. The business is not necessarily, if the business is doing it out of hate and malice towards the individual, if they're just like, I don't want political speech in my business right now. We are running a restaurant.
Or
we are running something.
I'm not
going to
serve MAGA. I'm not going to, you have a red hat. I'm not going to serve you because you're a bunch of Nazis. Should that business be brought up on civil rights violations?
It would depend, because the idea being that a business does refuse the right to serve anyone. However, if the business stands there and tells the person, I'm not serving any of you MFing dumbass MAGA supporters because of this, and your mother did this with a lion, and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Yeah, now we're getting actual malice, and I believe, yes, we should bring them up on charges
I don't
there.
think they should.
But
if a business is going to treat a MAGA customer that way, well, then word's going to get out, and the reciprocal response is enough justice for me. I mean, the idea that you have to drag somebody before a government tribunal just because they have malice or hate towards you in their own business, I mean, where does it end?
Well, the issue for me is that I don't believe that because you're the business owner, you have the right to blanketly insult anybody that walks through that door. That does not give you free pass to just scream and say whatever you want to anybody that walks through that door. I think there are restraints and constrictions on that. And we can talk about what those are.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who's been called everything under the sun at a Bernie Sanders rally, I don't.
For me, that's just a day that ends in Y.
It's just kind of hurts my feelings, but that's all. Erin Lee, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, on both of these fronts, both the gendered dress code and the free speech of businesses, it comes down to the proper role of government. You know, to your point, Bill, about the dress code for kids, it's not the proper role of government to dictate what a private institution or an autonomous charter school can do within their schools. But their dress code is not hateful, but they have the autonomy to make that decision. If parents don't like it, they don't have to send their child there.
I agree
That's
with you.
the beauty of the Constitution, which allows us to have that autonomy. But the same thing goes for the business. As Jeff said, I'm called pejoratives every day by people in Colorado. Do I want them to be arrested? No, because I respect that we all have free speech rights as long as they are not hurting themselves or someone else. People are free to say whatever they want. And if you don't like it, don't go to that business. It really comes back to the Jack Phillips case, which the Supreme Court upheld that he had the right not to bake the cake. So, businesses have a right to say whatever they feel is, within their beliefs, but as long as they're not hurting themselves or anyone else, they have a right to say those things.
Yeah, but
it's not the proper role of government to come down on them.
With the Jack Phillips example, though, Jack said he didn't refuse service to a gay couple or a gay person or a transgender person. He refused to bake a certain type of cake. He didn't yell at them. He didn't insult them. He didn't, in my opinion, he didn't act with malice. He made a choice, and that's different. And that's where I'm coming back to, is the idea of the expression of malice. Then I have a problem with that. And I do believe, personally, that there are times in which individuals misgender someone on purpose because of malice. And I hear it from our callers, and I hear it from the text messages where it's like, and the phrase that sticks with me is, I'm not going to participate in their mental illness. That is a motivator for me out of malice. Now, I'm not going to blanket anything else out there, and this is where I believe the Democrats are trying to prevent that. But in the classic Colorado Democrat way, they have vastly overreached, and they've tried to cover every base. And the functionality of this bill, what they're trying to do, is dumb. And I do not support it because it is an overreach. For me, they are trying to kill a mosquito with a sledgehammer. It is vastly inefficient and will cause much more damage than trying to prevent or correct what they're seeking. It is a mess, and it should not be passed.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think their intent is wrong. I think they think they're doing the right thing, and they don't see that it's an egregious government overreach. But I would argue it's not. Usually people are not malicious in refusing to lie about biological fundamental truth. It's such a slippery slope, and that's why we've gotten where we are, because people out of kindness and empathy wanted to appease people who believe they're the opposite sex. But when you buy into that mentality and you use their pronouns and you use that name, it's a very slippery slope. Here we are, where in my school district, for example, they say that 47% of kids identify as transgender or LGBTQ. So it's a very slippery slope when you buy into their language, you really blur the line of fundamental and biological reality. And so there are those of us who've said, okay, well, this is an ideology, and it has hurt us and our kids and our families, and we can no longer use that language because we're opening the door for them to continue to push and push and push like they are with this bill.
Erin Lee, Protect Kids Colorado, doing a fantastic job. Thank you so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show this morning.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, I want to talk to you about another great organization out there, the Colorado Farm Bureau. Do you know where your last meal came from? Sure, it was a restaurant or made at home with food from the grocery store, but where did it come from before that? Chances are it came from a family farm or ranch right here in Colorado. Hey, it's Jeff Hunt, and I wanted to chat with you about Colorado agriculture. It's an industry that I'm passionate about and it's been a part of Colorado since we became a state. From family ranches on our eastern plains to local peach farms in the orchards of Palisade, they provide a wholesome and sustainable food production and contribute billions to our economy. Yes, that's right, billions. And my friends at the Colorado Farm Bureau work hard to represent our agriculture industry. Farm Bureau members have been coming together for 104 years to protect agriculture and help it grow and prosper. You can join them to help continue this legacy. Join and help support family farms and ranches at coloradofarmbureau.com. That's coloradofarmbureau.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show.
No music.
Let's go.
There's no music was there. I don't know what happened.
Let's go to Joel in Littleton. Good morning, Joel. You're on the Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. I feel is what they're trying to do is control my thought and my speech by telling me I have to accept a him as a she if that's what he wants to be called.
That's correct. And look, if you don't want to, I don't think you should have to. If they think you're a jerk for not accepting it, well, then guess what? There's plenty of people out there that just happen to be jerks in this world. The idea of dragging people before government tribunals because of this, that's way too far, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way that it's maybe a little bit too far. But Joel and Jeff, don't we already use many people's preferred name because they asked us to? And the example that I'll put on the table is Ted Cruz. He's Raphael Edward Cruz. He asks people to use Ted. Nobody refers to him as Raphael.
You want to respond?
Should we call him Raphael?
Yeah, I prefer my AKA is AH. But I don't expect everyone to call me that.
But it's not just a name, guys. It's a reality. They're asking us, the transgender community, to buy into their worldview, which is that you can just change genders.
No.
And the biblical worldview is that there are only two. It's established at birth by God, and that's it. And so this is forcing you to embrace their worldview, not because we want you to be a polite person or anything like that, but because if you don't, we're going to use the power of government to force you into our religion.
But Ted is forcing us to call him Ted. He's Raphael, isn't he? I mean, that's the thing is he's just asking for a different name. I understand a different name. I understand the idea of what you're saying about being brought in front of the government tribunal, and I've expressed it. I don't agree with that unless it's done through actual malice, that you're trying to be mean to the other person. But we go around all the time and use other people's preferred names. We even do it for women after they get married. They weren't born as Mrs. Smith, but we call her Mrs. Smith because she got married.
There's not a fundamental ontological change that's taking place. And that's what the transgender community wants you to believe, that you can just change your gender. You can't. And that's the Christian perspective.
But the argument from them isn't that it's changing. The argument is this is how they were born. They don't come in and do that. They say I was born, and I was born biologically this way, but this is who I actually am. And we have other instances of chromosomes outside of XX and XY. So there are other variations inside of that. It is not just bilateral. It's more than that. So,
join the conversation. Joel, appreciate the call. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
I'm calling in something I think is related. I think that it's important to know what happened with Phil, with the baker who filed a complaint, who did not want to do a wedding cake for gay
Jack
people.
Phillips, right.
Thank you. I'm sorry to have his name right. I'm a little bit nervous. My understanding, and I am not a lawyer, is that the Supreme Court found that the Colorado Civil Rights Commission was horrible to him, that they did not treat him fairly, so he did not get a fair hearing, and they directed that he should get a fair hearing. My understanding
Yes, in the first case, you're right, Marie, that the Colorado Civil Rights Commission was not fair to Jack Phillips.
Right.
But then in the second case, they went and looked at the broader compelled speech angles of Colorado civil rights law.
But I think that had to do with the transgender, not with the wedding cakes. I think that Colorado public accommodation law says you have to offer the full all your services to everybody who comes in. And then
Yep. Marie, great call. You're listening to
thank you.
Jeff and Bill.
This is KNUS.
Well, that was definitely the first 2 hours today. Good
Oh,
morning.
absolutely.
It's 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday. Was it April 3rd, 2025? Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. It's been a lot of fun today. Billy and I debating tariffs and then the transgender thing happening down at the Colorado State Capitol. It's always hot and spicy, but we love it when our friends come and swing by and get to tell us about some of the good news happening in their communities. Coming up in just a second after news and comment with Blake Olson, Mayor Stephanie Piko is joining us because of the National Women's Soccer League training facility and stadium coming to Centennial. What is this? So awesome. Bill is very excited because he gets to talk soccer. So we'll get into that. You're not going to want to miss this conversation. The economy is going to be improved, I think, a little bit in their state by this. So you're going to want to hear that. But now it's time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson. Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning, 36 and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 42 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Marxists in Colorado trying to push into law a bill making misgendering a crime. That is horrible. Erin Lee, Protect Kids Colorado, was at the Circus Wednesday at the Capitol.
It was like the best way to describe it would be upside down clown world make-believe pretend land, where anyone who spoke rational truth was condemned, as you heard, as a hate group or the KKK, and we were just completely ignored. It's crazy because, as you heard, they had a year to prepare for this bill to be dropped. They knew exactly what they were doing. We were schemed against. Those of us who dissent to this bill didn't know about it until Monday, 24 hours before the committee hearing. But I have to share some good news. With just 24 hours notice, we turned out more expert witnesses to oppose this bill than they turned out supporters. And we still had more people show up in opposition, proving that we're paying attention in Colorado and that we, the people, do not agree with these blatantly unconstitutional bills that they are passing in the night.
Amen to that. Bill 25-1312, the attack on free speech and the social engineering of lunatics by lunatics on the left. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston using common sense and says, come back to downtown.
If we allow folks to commit crimes on our streets and sidewalks without consequence, that also does not solve crime. And today we're here to share that those days are over in Denver.
Crime is a problem, business is hurting, and he announced a plan to do something about it, the Safe Downtown Action Plan, an investment of $575 million through the Downtown Development Authority. Should help to make downtown safer. An additional 10 officers will be working exclusively downtown.
They'll be dedicated just to downtown. That'll include foot patrol, it'll include bike patrol, it'll include motorcycle patrol. In addition, we'll add 3 more shifts of our park rangers, who will be 3 additional shifts a day coming up and through the downtown area as a way to activate and keep that supported.
And just in time for opening day tomorrow at 2:10, bring a jacket. Your gloves, could be delays with the weather. Jeff will be there, and he'll be warm and toasty.
Our country and its taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years, but it is not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen.
Bring back the jobs to the Rust Belt and America. It was Liberation Day on Wednesday, and plenty of second guessers out there. 47 says that we have to do this. Reciprocal tariffs and holding other countries accountable. DJT loves to negotiate.
If you look at Switzerland, 61% to 31%. Indonesia, Malaysia, Cambodia. Oh, look at Cambodia, 97%. We're going to bring it down to 49. They made a fortune with the United States of America. United Kingdom, 10%, and we'll go 10%. So we'll do the same thing. South Africa, 60%, 30%, and they've got some bad things going on in South Africa. You know, we're paying them billions of dollars, and we cut the funding because a lot of bad things are happening in South Africa. The fake news ought to be looking at it. They don't want to report it. So what we're doing is we're taking Not the full. We could take the full 88%. Thanks a lot. He's doing a very good job. How's he doing? All right? I think you better take it with you. It's not going to last very long.
Howard Lutnick, he had fun on Wednesday. A lot of people didn't, but channel your inner Tommy boy and just believe in America. Bring the jobs back.
But for now, for your customer's sake, for your daughter's sake, you might want to think about buying a quality product from me. Okay, I'll buy from you. Oh, that's...
What?
What?
I have watched my entire life, I have watched plant after plant after plant in Detroit and in the Metro Detroit area close. There are now plants sitting idle. There are now plants that are underutilized. And Donald Trump's policies are going to bring product back into those underutilized plants. There's going to be new investment. There's going to be new plants built. And the UAW members, and I brought 20 of them with me, they're sitting right over here. We support Donald Trump's policies on tariffs 100%.
New York Mayor Eric Adams with an interesting endorsement. He knows what political weaponization looks like. He's been the victim from his own party, the Democrats, recommends a book on Wednesday.
And New Yorkers stop me all the time in trying to find the rationale behind this. And I found it in this book. I'm going to encourage every New Yorker to read it.
Wow. He held up new FBI Director Kash Patel's book, Government Gangsters. Rockies getaway day today in Philly at 11:05 first pitch. They are 1-4. The Spurs over the Nuggets last night, 113-106, and the Avalanche over the Blackhawks, 3-2. The final. And real quickly, back to the Tariffs. Here's Byron Donalds. I think is a good statement here.
And the way I equate it as a corollary is United States basketball. Back in '92, when it was the Dream Team, it didn't matter what team you threw out there. We were going to dominate them, and it was going to really be ugly. Today's Dream Team, we still win the gold, but the games are harder. We got to compete. It's the same thing in the global economy. These nations have become not just developing nations, they are now strong economies, and so we have to have fair trade if you're going to have free trade.
So true. 33 in Louisville and 35 in Sheridan, 36 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Cool, unsettled, and occasionally damp here along the Front Range through Saturday as an area of low pressure will hang overhead between now and the start of the weekend. Mostly cloudy, highs upper 40s, a few showers today, a few snow showers, 20s and low 30s tonight. Areas of wet snow Thursday into Thursday night, rain and snow showers Friday night into Saturday, and cool with highs only 30s and low 40s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Big news coming to our communities here. National Women's Soccer League training facility and stadium coming to Centennial, Bill. Now, you're a footballer.
Yes.
Very excited about this?
Yeah, I was watching a match yesterday. Yeah, so I'm very excited. I think this is great. I think women's soccer, especially professional soccer in the U.S., is really, really good. We put a high-quality product onto the field in the U.S. It does hold.
Ladies a product, Bill?
Yeah, no, I mean, just saying product is the whole idea of the league. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, absolutely. I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. And I think it encourages a lot of the younger girls that are running around on fields throughout the state of Colorado that there is something to shoot for. There's something to achieve
what year was the team where they won in a shoot-off at the very end, and she rips her shirt off in
that's Brandy Chastain. Yeah, I forgot the year exactly.
And I watched the documentary on that year, and like women's soccer was like a passing thought. No one cared about it. And then these girls, I think it was in the Olympics, right? Or is it the World Cup?
It's the World Cup. It's the World
Cup.
In
the World Cup, go all the way, and just the power that victory had.
Oh, yeah. That's Brandy Chastain that did that. Yeah, absolutely. And,
wow.
And she does some commentary, some other stuff right now. And that was a real nice leapfrog for showing young soccer fans in America what you have the ability to do, and especially the women's game. Now, the rest of the world has caught up with us. They absolutely can play toe-to-toe with many of the Americans, but that wasn't the case back then.
Yeah.
We had better athletes, we had better training, and just like when you watch a lot of NBA games versus the women's NBA game, the WNBA, that there is a technical superiority sometimes inside of the WNBA because you don't need it in the NBA based on athletic prowess and the fact that it's mostly a one-on-one game. It's a larger team game for the women. In many ways, the tactics inside of the women's game in professional soccer is far superior to the men's because they don't necessarily have some of the same types of gifted athletes that you see internationally in the men's game. So if you're talking about just solid tactics, the women's game is fantastic.
Well,
and they play really, really hard. They
coming
do a good
now
job.
to Centennial
Yeah,
to join
it's
us.
fantastic.
Joining us to give us some insight on this is Mayor Stephanie Piko. Mayor, thanks so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, good morning, Mayor. Did you get your
Good morning.
Did you get your vuvuzela? That's a big horn-looking thing that goes. Bah! Yeah, that sounds like some sort of elephant with gas. Yeah, that's okay. I hate those things. I'm just saying.
So tell us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Tell us what this is. There's a training facility here. Give us the details.
Yeah, we're very excited. The city of Centennial owned a piece of property over off of Potomac, right across from the Broncos training facility. We've been sitting on it since 2011, hoping to figure out a way to tie it in with the Arapahoe County Park that's right across the street from Broncos as well. And nothing ever kind of transpired until this opportunity showed up about 18 months, 2 years ago, when it was announced that there was a group of people from Denver that were looking to try to secure the next franchise opportunity with the NWSL. And we hooked up with the owners group there and tried to pitch that Centennial would be a great asset and a great location for them to have that ancillary work done with the training facility. And then the idea of the temporary stadium needed to pop up really quick, and the grounds are great for that, and it all just kind of came together.
So I want to know, and this is Mayor Stephanie Piko of Centennial joining Jeff and Bill live. So the training facility is also the location for the temporary stadium, or is it a different location for the temporary stadium, just for our listeners?
It's all on the same property. It's 42 acres, just north of Broncos Parkway, and just across the street from the Broncos training facility.
Now, I think the idea of it's just across the street from the Broncos facility does a hell of a lot as far as just, cachet. The idea that the Broncos are training across the street.
Well,
yeah.
In 18 years, we're going to have quite the athletes coming. Because if you have the football players over there and the women's soccer players over here, they're bound to be a little football players looking over at the ladies playing soccer.
And again, no, I can't say that out loud. So yeah. Okay. No.
But so I've heard that there's a stadium being built near downtown at the Santa Fe train tracks. Is this related? Is it different? Help me understand that.
So they part of the process was the NWSL wanted a permanent stadium built that was a women's dedicated stadium, and so Denver is able to provide that at that location. But in the meantime, they need to be up and running and playing by next March. So the first games will be occurring next March in Centennial. And I think the advantage to where the location is, too, is just as you were saying, everyone knows where Dove Valley is. Everyone knows where Broncos training facility is. Everyone knows where they go for spring training. So that's exactly the same location you're going to go to watch competitive women's soccer in professional soccer in Centennial. So I think it will be a great, easy way for people to find it. And it's going to add another asset to the community right in the same location.
Great location. You talk about Centennial Airport there, Dove Valley. Now this. What's the name of the women's team?
They don't have a name yet.
Oh, they don't have it.
They don't have a name yet. Yeah.
So are they going to do a contest to name the team?
It's going on right now.
Really?
There's a contest, and I believe. Let me see if I can find it here. Okay, because I pulled it up because I was curious. I didn't think they had gone through the naming process yet, and I know there was a contest, but I hadn't seen it. The names chosen. They've got Denver Peak. They have Colorado 14ers, Colorado Summit, Denver Elevate, Denver FC, which is just football club, Denver Gold. Those are the choices. So, Jeff, again, here, I want to know what you think it is.
Easier.
14ers?
That
like
or
that?
Elevate. I would
Okay.
go 14ers number 1, Elevate's number 2.
Now, I don't want Stephanie, or the mayor of Centennial, to alienate any voters, so we're not going to ask her vote, just because I don't want somebody to go, I liked her up until she voted against the one that I like. For me, 14ers are nice. Summit is nice. Those are the two that really kind of stand out for me. I dislike the Denver FC because it's kind of bland. I don't go with that one very much. Denver Gold reminds me of our old USFL team, because they were the Denver Gold. So I'm not certain about that one, unless they go with black and gold colors, but they're not. They're going with the green and white theme. Elevate,
like the
maybe.
license plate?
Yeah, so it's green and white are the colors. Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
I like 14ers. I like Summit. Those are the two that I think could have a lot of marketing capability behind them. But we're going to let that pass by Stephanie. We don't hurt to talk about her favorite.
Unless she wants.
But,
I don't know. Maybe she does. Yeah.
Has she already gotten the tattoo? Colorado. So, Stephanie, mayor of Centennial, Stephanie Piko, talk to us about the economic impact in Centennial. Now, you're talking about just a training facility and a temporary stadium for a couple of years. Does this really matter inside of Centennial to bring more dollars and more tax base into the city? What is the economic impact, or is this just a bunch of people running around in a bunch of shorts and yelling about a game that never stops and has weird rules and stuff like that? So what's the impact?
Well, I think it actually will help continue to strengthen our economy. We're going to have the highest performing people there, whether they're the trainers that are working in the facility, the people that are managing the facility. It's a whole nother spectrum of job opportunities for people coming into the area, not to mention the stadium part of it and the construction aspect of that, bringing in the people that are going to be putting in it's a modular stadium from my understanding, and so it can be brought in as the size that they need immediately, and then it can be tapered back down to the size that it's adequate. So that'll continue to offer an opportunity to have events in the city, and sports facilities for the Cherry Creek School District is who's going to be taking over the stadium once it's compacted down to being right sized for the school district to use. So those are going to be ongoing benefits for the city and for the economy around it, because you're always going to have people who are engaging in that piece right there. There's a hotel not too far from there, so you're going to have people traveling in and sports teams traveling in. And I think there's just a great opportunity for the city to continue to have that Dove Valley space activated, and it'll bring in new restaurants and opportunities and things around it that will increase the development in the area.
Yeah, and the secondary economic development could be significant as well. We're talking with Centennial Mayor Stephanie Piko. One of the things we can look at is the secondary usage of the Broncos training facility. They have flag football games there all the time. They have other events there. And to a T, the one thing that parents share is, look at my child playing on the same field the Broncos practice on. Yep. And you've got the same opportunity with this practice facility for the new Denver women's professional team. All those little kids that are running around, both boys and girls, that hope to one day make a living, or at least just pay for college, by playing soccer, they can go to that facility, and there's going to be a limited use opportunity when they're not training to get kids on fields, to do 3-on-3s, to have weekend tournaments. And just between you and me, Mayor Piko, it is so much easier getting to Centennial than out to Dick's Sporting Goods Park. Just saying. So much easier. So much easier. It's a great facility out there, but the location is much more centralized. It's easier to get to. That's probably why the Broncos built it in Dove Valley and didn't go to Commerce City. Now, nothing against Commerce City. I'm just saying the Broncos made the choice, and you guys are making the right choice as well. It is a much more centralized location. It's easier for families to get to, so if you want to create those secondary opportunities, you've got something there all ready to go. So this really can be a nice economic boon, because you bring in a group of families that are going to be there over a weekend tournament. They have to go eat somewhere. As all of us know,
eat in between games, because you're out there for like 8 hours.
Yes, exactly. So there is a really big economic boon that seems very, very nice that's part of this this team. So talk to us some about the excitement inside of the sports community, because you've got you've got a very well developed soccer community in and around the city. What has been the buzz from local soccer teams, local soccer organizations about the fact that not only are we getting a women's professional soccer soccer team, but they are going to be training in some of these players' very own backyard. That's got to be exciting.
I think it's going to be great. The part that I remember, my kids grew up playing storm soccer. I knew people who played storm on the big storm soccer fields that used to be at Parker and Arapahoe Road, and so it was a huge part of growing up in this area was soccer. It's still soccer. And so being able to go out and go onto these fields, and again, like you said, being able to participate where there's professional soccer being played will be it's just an adjunct to the experience that all of the kids have been having throughout this entire South Metro area. So I think for the groups to know that it's coming here, and to your point, did not have to travel. We're so used to having to go up to the Aurora Sports Complex or go up to Dick's Sporting Goods Parks to have experiences like that. Now to have it in our own backyard, I think the entire South Metro area, knowing the size of the teams that we have, the success of the high school teams that we have just in this, a 5-mile radius of the fields, it's just going to spur even more excitement for the sport.
And I love that you brought up the Denver Storm. I played on the traveling team for a couple of seasons. That was one of my many journeys on my soccer career I was a Storm member for a while.
Now, we're talking with Mayor Stephanie Piko, the mayor of Centennial, on the development of the National Women's Soccer League training facility and stadium that's going to take place near Dove Valley, near Centennial Airport. We're getting questions, text messages from our listeners wondering how this is being paid for.
So the city purchased the property in 2011 from the U.S. Postal Service. Actually, there was supposed to be a post office there. So this is a much more exciting use than that. And so the city is able to lease the property out as part of a public benefit. And then the storm slipped there. The National Women's Soccer Group, the Denver company, has brought in the financing through venture capitalists that are coming in and investing in this facility, in the stadium, in the land, and turning it into the proper facilities for them. And then the Cherry Creek School District became a partner in this conversation as we were talking about how to best utilize the opportunity for the temporary stadium. There needed to be a way to recoup that at the end, and who was going to benefit the most from that partnership. So the city of Centennial reached out to the Cherry Creek School District, connected them with the Denver Soccer Organization to say, here, you guys talk and see if there's an opportunity for you to share in that expense of a stadium that's going to basically have the largest amount of the investment taken over by the Denver Soccer Group, but then being able to have the Cherry Creek School District benefit from a long-term plan and a long-range facility plan that they had actually in idea for needing another stadium for at least 10 years. We've talked about it with the expansion of the Cherry Creek Innovation Campus. There's a stadium talked about with the Arapahoe County Park that's right there with the opportunity. Is there an opportunity to put a stadium in there? So this really helps the Cherry Creek School District have the opportunity to get the facilities that they need in the long term with long-range planning with a shorter investment cycle than that they would normally have to build a stadium for that capacity.
Well, it sounds like a win-win-win for a lot of different parties involved. Well done, Mayor Stephanie Piko. Final question. Talk about opportunities for local youth to train, intern, engage with the team in any capacity.
Well, I think one of the exciting parts of having the Cherry Creek School District as part of this, too, is that with the Innovation Campus expansion that's going on right next door, they're bringing in tracks for physical therapy, for sports training. And so students will actually have a chance to intern over at the training facility with the professional athletes to help them in their training, to help them in their recovery, in their therapy. So there's a great chance for kids students to get involved in real life skills and doing it in a real life setting. So that's very exciting for the kids coming up who are maybe not the athletes, but maybe want to be part of that athletic support system that is becomes such a big business in addition to that. And everybody from the professional athletes to the mom athletes, we all need to have somebody out there helping us with our training and our support systems. So it's a great career path for these kids to have a chance to do something real.
Oh, it's wonderful. I remember in college when we got people that were in the sports physiology, sports medicine department coming over and they'd help us tape out and everything else. That is a huge boon because they were getting really, really good hands-on experience. They were able to put that on their resume, and we always could use the extra hand to prep before games. Okay, I want to do a little bit of experiment here. We're talking to Stephanie Piko, Centennial mayor, and we do things a little differently here on the Jeff and Bill Show. We were talking earlier about the possible name for the women's professional soccer team. Now, the reason we've got the mayor on here is because the permanent practice facility and temporary stadium are going in Centennial, right across the street from Dove Valley where the Broncos practice. So this is going to be a huge center of the universe for women's soccer here in Colorado and really for the region. And it's just with the number of fantastic top-notch level clubs that we have, a lot of private clubs, Rapids, we talk about Storm, they go around and they perform very, very well on national and international tournaments. So this can really help, but we got to really kind of focus in here on a team name. We talked about a possible team name earlier. So one of the things that I was thinking about is that we got to test these team names out. So hopefully, Stephanie, you can play along with us here, Jeff as well. We're going to go through the names and see if we can chant them. So the first one is going to be Denver Peak. So I'm going to start off here, okay? So we're going to have to go, I'll go, let's go, and we all do Peak together. So here we go. Let's go, Peak. Let's go, Peak. Nah, I don't know about that one. Okay, here's the next one. Colorado 14ers. Okay, same thing. Let's go, 14ers. Okay, that maybe. That's some rhythm there. Got some rhythm there.
And you can add some drums.
Yes, we can. Boom. You got to have the drums and the vuvuzela. Okay, now the Colorado Summit is the next one. Here we go. Let's go, Summit.
Summit.
Yeah. Okay, that one works. Okay.
That's better.
Now here's Elevate. Okay, so let's go. Elevate.
That one struggles
now,
too.
Denver FC, there's nothing you can do there. I can't help you. Can't help you on that one. Okay, now Denver Gold. Okay, here we go, the Gold. Let's go. Gold. I don't know. I personally, I think that Summit and Elevate kind of work best. Yeah. I think it's kind of work.
14ers.
Yeah. I think a little bit of market research
I'm not
impromptu.
sure anyone outside of Colorado knows what the 14er means. So I don't know how well that'll carry nationally.
Yeah, it'd be kind of like the idea of the San Francisco 49ers, the Green Bay Packers. People are always like, where are the Packers going if they're packing everything? They don't understand it's meat packing. Yeah. So same thing. Oh, Mayor, this has been fantastic. I think we've settled on a name. It's got to be either Summit or Elevate because you can't chant a single other name. Not going to work. Not going to work in the stadium.
Well, Mayor Stephanie Piko of Centennial, it's a very exciting day. It's a very exciting month and quarter, year as you're developing this all out. Sounds like a lot of parties involved with this, from the school district to investors to the women's soccer team, are all going to win as a result of this. Very well done, Mayor, and thank you for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate being on.
All right.
Thanks. Have a great day. Take care.
We'll continue. Would love to hear your thoughts about this. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971. That's 303-696-1971. Or text us on the Dan Campos Law text line, 720-819-5115. Bill, let's talk about another winner out there, Wound Care Associates of Colorado.
Yes, this is a new advertiser here on the show and something that is making a change in my family's life. I want to talk to you about Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Here's the deal. You've got someone, maybe yourself or someone in your social circle, that's dealing with a pressure sore, a diabetic ulcer, a slow healing cut, or a wound. Do not mess around. Ignoring the problem isn't going to fix the problem because it can become a very big deal. That torn skin and tissue is the perfect place for dirt, germs, and bacteria to get access to your body. I had an experience with what happened to my aunt earlier on in my life where she had a chronic wound, and because they just maintained the wound, that's an important word to remember, maintaining the wound, that's what most wound care facilities do, it means it kept it open. So when she was going to the treatment facility and coming back home and stuff, she was exposed to MRSA. The MRSA was there at the clinic. She didn't get in the car on the way there because she would have gotten in the car earlier. So I'm just saying, she got exposed to MRSA. That led to some hospital stays and even some amputations. That's not cool. And you don't want anybody in your family to go through that either. That's why you have to call Wound Care Associates of Colorado. And I'll talk to you as to why. First of all, It is improved healing outcomes. Their wound certified nurse practitioner wants to make sure that slow healing cutter wound heals. They're not going to maintain it and get you into the same problems that I saw with my aunt in the hospital stays. They want to heal it because healing's better. Fixing the problem's better, right? We can agree on that. Yes, we can agree. When you go to the doctor, you want them to heal the problem. That's what Wound Care Associates of Colorado is going to do. But more than that, they're going to give you the concierge service without concierge price. You remember that dirty word in medical care? House call. That's a wonderful word for Wound Care Associates of Colorado because that's exactly what they do. When you reach out to them at coloradowound.com, they set up an appointment at your location. They're not asking, hey, when can you come into the office and we're open from here to here. No. They ask you about your schedule and when's a convenient time for you. Not worried about transportation. If it's maybe someone in your social circle and you got to worry about them getting transported to the facility, you don't have to worry about that. If they're in a retirement home or assisted living care facility, Wound Care Associates of Colorado comes to them. It couldn't be easier, and you're getting a wound certified nurse practitioner that is setting up a custom treatment plan based on their care and needs with a guarantee of improved healing outcomes. There isn't a single other wound care facility in the entire state that offers you this level of care, privacy, convenience, and comfort. When my youngest child recently had a minor surgery and the incision afterwards wasn't healing properly, 2 visits to the surgeon to talk to him about it, and he went with that word that I talked about earlier. Remember the maintain the wound? As soon as that came out of his pie hole, I'm like, nope, we're done. The very next thing I did was contact Wound Care Associates of Colorado at coloradowound.com. And yes, I didn't call the people that I know behind the scenes. I went through the front-facing portal just like you do because I wanted to see how good they were. And they knocked it out of the park. They've got a custom treatment plan for my daughter, and she's doing great. That wound is doing so much better just in the previous 10, 11 days since we saw them versus the couple of weeks that went by previously. Don't mess around. Don't mess around with the others, guys. Go with the best. Someone in your social circle has a chronic, slow-healing wound, cut, pressure sore, diabetic ulcer. Wound Care Associates of Colorado. I trust them. You can too. Reach out to them at coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com, and when you do, tell me you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show.
That's great to hear, Bill. We'll continue. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Great conversation with Mayor Stephanie Piko of Centennial as they're bringing in National Women's Soccer League training facility and temporary stadium to Centennial. That is a really cool area of town. It's right near Centennial Airport, Dove Valley. All that's being developed out into a nice little community there.
Oh, yeah. It's gorgeous there. And remember, according to some of the Broncos, that if you put your flashers on, you can ignore all the road signals and lights. And I remember,
really? There was a Bronco player that did that?
There was, and I forgot which one it was, but I forgot who it was. But he was pulled over because he was driving down between both lanes, and he had his flashers on, and he was ignoring all the traffic. And I guess he had done this a couple of days in a row, and was pulled over. And he's like, "No! I'm a Bronco. I've got to get here to the facility." And he said, "And when I put the flashers on, it's like an emergency. I get to," and they're like, "No, you don't, sir.
You don't get to do that.
No, it's not like it's not like do-it-yourself police lights. That's not what it is." But he didn't understand that.
Well, he'd been hitting the head a bunch. All right,
exactly.
Let's go to the phone lines. Curtis Hudson. Good morning, Curtis. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
How you doing?
Good.
How are you doing today? Appreciate it.
Yeah, what's
Good
on your
to hear
mind?
you. I just found your station a couple days ago. I just want to say that, of anything that Trump has ever tried, he's always getting intensely sabotaged by the left constantly. We wouldn't know if he got something done right because we have never heard the truth about anything. As soon as he said something, we got 50 people saying, "No, it's not going to work. It won't work." How do we even know? Nothing has ever been able to get through without somebody bad-mouthing it. And we know the left can't do a thing about anything. They've trashed our whole economy and our life and our Constitution. The left wouldn't know what the Constitution was if it bit them on the butt. But I had a friend of mine in high school. I bet she's really happy now because I think she's a coach here in Colorado now. She used to be the goalie for the DU soccer team, and she was a badass. Her name was Sue Edstrom. I don't know if she's around anywhere, but that girl can play some soccer.
That name sounds familiar. And again, I don't think I know her personally, etc. But when you said that name, that sprung something that I remember that name with her playing. I think I remember her at probably the DU days that, yeah, she was solid. It was one of those names that just sticks with you. It's someone that when you hear about them and you watch them work, yeah, you recognize greatness. Yeah.
She was a manager with me at Nautilus. See, I had the 24-hour Nautilus in Castle Rock at the time, and she worked up the one on Mineral. And that girl could push 750 pounds with her legs. She would kill me in the workout. She would kill me. And her brother and her had a softball team. That's how I met her. Because we were playing softball one day. I smacked the ball over her head in left field, and she turned around and did the same thing to me an inning later. So we started talking, found out we were managers at the Nautilus, and started working out together. She was a good kid. She was a rough player. She didn't half step at all. That girl was tough.
Well, what I've noticed and our kids aren't that into the competitive soccer arena, but we've been to a few tournaments here or there, and there's a lot of people that show up for this. So when you talk about ancillary benefits, all the restaurants that are going to come in, the types of physical therapy that's going to come in as well with this type. It's going to be good. It's going to be good for the city of Centennial, and that's an area that could use the development. And what I liked was that the state or the city had purchased this land years and years and years ago because it was available. It was supposed to be for a post office, but they've now worked out a deal where the development's going to come from private venture capital. Then the school is going to get to benefit from this. It seems like this is a great opportunity, and it's not going to cost taxpayers. So, Curtis, really appreciate the call.
Yeah,
thanks so much. All right, want to talk to you about my friends over at Advanced Hair Restoration. Guess what? Named again by Westward for best hair restoration here in the Denver area. Modern technology, top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, if you're losing your hair, you need a simple solution, and Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair can help you. They've completely redefined hair restoration from the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, or thinning hair, address them all with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment in a calm, relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of these breakthrough treatments, and get this, Your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. No one in Denver can offer anything like Advanced FUE found. At Advanced Hair, I highly recommend their team. So does Westward. So do the people that have used them. Top rated here in the Denver area. Look, it all starts with your free consultation. Give them a call, 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that's redefined hair restoration. 720-459-HAIR. AdvancedHair.com. That's AdvancedHair.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. This was one for the record books. Trump claiming Liberation Day for our economy. Jared Polis calling Trump's tariffs the biggest tax hike in American history. Boy, we debated it all this morning. And I want to thank everybody because we had full phone lines the first few hours of the show.
Yeah.
So we dove into that issue.
And all over the place. That was the fun part.
Yeah.
Lots of y'all all over with us. And appreciate you playing along and following with us this morning. It's been a lot of fun. It's been great.
So, and then we spoke with Erin Lee about this new bill where you could lose custody of your kids if you don't necessarily embrace transgenderism now. Is that going to get through the state house? And is that a violation of free speech when it comes to businesses? All of that on our podcast at 710knus.com. Bill, markets aren't doing so great today. They're down right now. Dow Watch down 3%, 1,300 points. Time to buy?
Oof, I don't know. I mean, that was Bissett's Scott Bissett. That was his advice. Buy the dip. Hang on, but aren't you understanding that we're eroding the value that we have right now? There are people, we lost 1,000 points yesterday. I mean, that's a lot of people losing value outside of the stock market. That's a lot of people's 401ks tanking. This could be, I don't know. And what does it say about if Donald Trump is bringing the economy back and he's bringing the manufacturing back to America, but the place that we focus on investments goes boop, 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 goes down? What is it saying about the confidence?
I think it says things
in
are
that?
changing, and so that's why there's some upheaval here. But I will give you, Bill, I think he has till June to showcase an economy that's turning around, or even MAGA will start to have some issues here.
Yeah,
so I think he has till June.
And that would be...
And then he can't blame Biden anymore. He can't, all that stuff. You know?
Here's the reason why I think you are 1,000% correct on June. And I find it very fascinating you picked that. I think it's really insightful that you picked June because that gets us through the first two quarters. And so if we get through the first two quarters of the year and we have negative GDP growth and we mention the R word, recession, all this changes because Trump is not, in my opinion, Trump is not going to be willing to preside over a recession inside the economy and especially rolling into the midterms. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right on June. I think that's a great benchmark, my friend. I think you're right.
And I mean, Rand Paul brings this up and starts to go, well, if Trump has to offset maybe like what might be happening to farmers, for instance, with government funding, I think you'll see some more Republicans, not just the Thomas Massie, Rand Paul's going, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah,
so there's a window here, but it's not very big.
It's hard to make the argument per se that we shouldn't be spending. I mean, I understand the idea of values and priorities, but we're overspending on all of these types of programs. But then because of our economic programs, we have to then provide subsidies. That's a difficult argument to say because you're still spending money. Yeah, the money is still being spent. We can argue over where it goes, but the issue right now that we're having in the country is supposedly, and that's why Doge is doing what they're supposed to be doing, is the spending as a bottom line. The bottom line spending number should be going in the other direction, should be shrinking rather than going up, and those subsidies don't help.
So lots to watch. What is going to happen in the next 20 hours or so before the show kicks off again tomorrow with all these tariffs? It's a wild time. I say bye. Now, I'm by no means a financial expert.
You're a member of NSYNC there. Bye. Sorry. I love you so much.
That
It's
was
just
great.
so much fun.
So others saying sell. What do you think? Well, tomorrow we'll be back. I'm always available at x.com/Jeff Hunt. Share your thoughts there as well. But thank you to everybody that joined the conversation today. We'll be back tomorrow morning. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. And for God's sakes, go do something productive with your